Don't miss the awesome Naruto stories my sister creates. Her last channel was hacked, so to stay in the loop, please subscribe to her new channel. It would mean a lot to her, and you won't regret it. Dear Naruto Lemon fans, I'm inviting all of you to my Boosty channel. You know that YouTube doesn't exactly approve of this kind of content, so please subscribe to my paid subscription and enjoy Naruto Lemon scenes comfortably. There are different subscription tiers from Mini Lemon to God Lemon. Those who buy the Over Naruto Lemon and God Naruto Lemon, I'll mentions in the videos. Dare. Chapter 1, A New World. Naruto Uzumaki opened his eyes and blinked at the bright sunlight that was shining through the thick curtains. His head felt heavy, as if a mountain had been piled on top of him, and his body felt foreign. Barely aware of himself, he raised his hand and rubbed his temples, hoping to get rid of the unpleasant feeling. Everything around him was unfamiliar, an unfamiliar room, a neatly folded bed, and the absence of the sounds he was used to hearing in the morning. "Where am I?" he muttered, trying to rise. The room he was in was furnished simply but tastefully. Light-colored walls, a simple desk with neatly arranged notebooks and books, a closet full of clothes, and a small window overlooking the garden. Naruto was surprised at how peaceful and calm this place seemed. It was completely different from how he remembered his last place, a battlefield soaked in blood and suffering. Trying to understand what was going on, he began to look at himself. He was wearing a simple school uniform, which seemed too comfortable for everyday use. There was no kenjutsu, no chakra, no weapons that he was used to. He felt like an ordinary teenager, like any other, which seemed strange and unsettling at the same time. What kind of rudeness is this? Naruto muttered in surprise, jumping out of bed. His gaze was drawn to a small calendar hanging on the wall next to the window. Today's date was underlined in red, a day he definitely couldn't forget. The day his life changed forever. He headed towards the door, feeling a strange excitement. He opened it and stepped out into the hallway. Unlike the noisy and confusing hallways of Konoha, everything here was calm and orderly. As he walked down the stairs, he listened to the sounds, trying to figure out who else was in this house. When he reached the first floor, he was greeted by the smell of freshly cooked breakfast. A sudden feeling of hunger struck him and Naruto felt his stomach growl. He headed to the kitchen where he saw a young woman standing at the stove, stirring soup with concentration. "Oh, are you awake yet?" The woman turned and smiled at him. Her smile was kind, almost maternal. "Who are you?" Naruto asked, feeling his heart beat faster. "You're not fully awake yet, are you? I'm your mother, or rather the one who takes care of you. Come on, sit down, I made breakfast. You don't want to be late for school, do you?" School? Naruto was stunned. Everything that was happening seemed surreal to him. However, his feet carried him to the table and he sat down opposite the woman who continued cooking. Her face seemed familiar to him, but he couldn't place it. When she served him a bowl of miso soup and rice, Naruto felt that this was not a dream. This was reality, although not the one he was used to. "You must hurry, Yuki-kun is already waiting for you," the woman said, smiling as she watched him eat with gusto. "Yuki?" Naruto looked at her with bewilderment. "Well, yes, your friend. He'll be waiting for you around the corner, as usual." She leaned over to straighten his collar and added, "And don't forget, you have a math exam today." The word struck Naruto like a thunderclap. Math? An exam? What kind of world was this where Naruto Uzumaki had to think about such things? He tried to remember the last time he had to solve math problems, and the only thing that came to mind was his training in creating complex formulas to control chakra. But that was completely different. After breakfast, when the woman handed him his school bag, Naruto felt like his world had been turned upside down. He was no longer a shinobi saving the world from evil. He was now just a schoolboy, and his main task was to go to school and do his homework. As he walked out of the house, he saw a boy his age standing by the road, nervously glancing at his watch. It was Yuki Suou, his classmate and, as it turned out, his friend. "Naruto, did you oversleep again?" Yuki asked with a grin when their eyes met. "Oh, sorry," Naruto replied sheepishly, not knowing how to react. "Okay, let's run, otherwise we'll be late." Yuki took him by the hand and pulled him along. Naruto felt a strange feeling when their hands touched. It was warm and awkward at the same time. He had never felt anything like this, not even with his friends that he had known all his life. They ran down the street together, and Naruto realized that this world was indeed different. The buildings, the people, even the air seemed different. But what struck him most was how simple and natural it all felt to him. As if he had always lived in this world. The school they headed to was a typical Japanese school. A tall building with large windows, well-kept flower beds, and groups of students discussing their business before classes. Naruto felt a little lost in all the normality. "We've arrived," Yuki said, stopping in front of the school entrance. "Are you ready for the exam?" Sure," Naruto smiled nervously, although inside he was seething with uncertainty. They walked inside and up the stairs to the second floor where their classroom was. The walls were covered with announcements, class schedules, and various posters advertising school clubs. It all seemed so far away from Naruto's normal life. As they entered the classroom, Naruto felt a lot of eyes on him. All of his classmates seemed to be busy with their own things, but as soon as he entered, everyone became silent for a moment. It was a strange feeling, being the center of attention, even though he had done nothing to deserve it. "Naruto, Yuki, good morning," one of the girls sitting by the window said cheerfully. It was Alisa Michailova, a girl with Russian roots who was known at school for her beauty and mystery. "Hello, Alya," Yuki answered, sitting down in his place. Naruto suppressed his surprise with difficulty. The girl sitting in front of him looked like she had stepped out of a magazine cover, blonde hair, blue eyes, and a cold gaze that seemed to penetrate his very soul. However, there was a slight note of kindness in her voice. "Naruto, how are you? Ready for the exam?" Alya asked, turning to him. Yeah, sure," Naruto muttered, trying not to show his excitement. "Don't worry, everything will be fine," she winked at him and returned to her notes. Naruto sighed and sat down at his desk. He tried not to think about what he was doing here or how he had ended up in this world. Instead, he focused on what he needed to do now, live this day as if everything was okay. When the bell rang, the teacher entered the classroom and began handing out worksheets. Naruto had a hard time keeping himself from panicking. He had never been good at academic subjects, and now he was about to be tested. When he looked at the tasks, it seemed to him that they were written in a different language. He struggled to concentrate and solve at least one of them. Thoughts flashed through his mind about how he had previously dealt with much more difficult tasks, but now it seemed unattainable. However, as Naruto dropped his head on the desk in despair, he felt someone touch his shoulder. He looked up and saw Yuki handing him a paper with the solution to one of the problems. "Here, try it like this," Yuki whispered, smiling. Naruto felt grateful and slightly embarrassed. He wasn't used to having someone help him with things like this, but at this moment he was willing to accept any help. He took the paper and began to rewrite the solution, trying to figure out how Yuki had done it. The exam went by faster than Naruto expected. When the teacher collected the answer sheets, he felt relieved, although he was not sure of his results. After the exam was over, Yuki approached him again. "So, how are you?" he asked, looking at Naruto with curiosity. "I don't know," Naruto answered honestly. "But thanks for helping." You're welcome, we're friends, Yuki smiled and patted him on the shoulder. Naruto felt his heart flutter. The word friend resonated with him with new force. He suddenly realized that this guy, Yuki, had become more than just a classmate to him. But what exactly that feeling was, he couldn't yet understand. Time at school flew by. Naruto tried to understand the lessons, although many of them seemed boring and incomprehensible to him. But what worried him most was not the lessons themselves, but how he perceived the people around him. Everything seemed so calm and peaceful that Naruto could not believe that this was real. When the last bell rang, Yuki approached Naruto and offered to walk home together. Naruto nodded, although questions and doubts were still boiling inside him. Listen, Yuki. Naruto began when they went outside. Yes? Yuki stopped and looked at him carefully. You believe in parallel worlds? Naruto asked, trying to find a way to explain his thoughts. Yuki frowned, but then smiled. Honestly, I've never thought about it. But why do you ask? Naruto sighed and hesitated. It was hard for him to explain what he felt, but he knew he had to say it. It's just that sometimes I feel like I'm not from here. Like I'm from another world, where everything was different, he began, but then fell silent, afraid of seeming strange. Yuki listened attentively, but did not interrupt him. Sometimes I have dreams where I'm not a schoolboy, but a warrior who fights for his life and for the lives of his friends. And these dreams seem so real that I can't tell where reality is and where the dream is, Naruto continued. Yuki thought for a moment and then said. You know, Naruto, I don't think it's weird. There's something about each of us that makes us unique. Maybe your dreams are memories of a past you once lived through. But the most important thing is who you are now and how you live your life. These words made Naruto think. He had never thought of himself in such a way, but Yuki's words sounded wise and calming. Thank you, Yuki, Naruto said quietly, feeling his heart fill with warmth. Yuki smiled and patted him on the shoulder. Let's go, we need to celebrate that we survived this exam. He said cheerfully, suggesting that they go to a nearby cafe. Naruto nodded and they headed towards the city. At that moment, he realized that maybe this world was given to him for a reason. Maybe this was a chance to start a new life where he could be not only a warrior, but also a person who valued friendship and love. Chapter 2, First Meeting with Yuki. Naruto and Yuki walked down a busy street leading to a small cafe where they were going to celebrate the end of the exam. The evening city was full of life, people were running around the streets, teenagers were laughing, cars were driving by. Shop windows were twinkling with bright lights, and the air was filled with the smell of fried food and freshly baked goods. Naruto felt how the world around him was slowly starting to accept him. It all seemed so normal, so natural, that he began to wonder if he really wanted to go back to his old life. Hey Naruto, what are you thinking about? Yuki's voice brought him out of his thoughts. Huh? Sorry, I was daydreaming, Naruto smiled, trying to hide his doubts. Yuki looked at him curiously, but didn't insist. You haven't been yourself lately, he noted. If something is bothering you, don't be shy about talking. I'm always ready to listen. Naruto was touched by these words. In this new world, he couldn't be sure of anything, but he knew one thing for sure, Yuki was a person he could trust. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he could share his thoughts without being judged. They reached a small cafe, hidden in a quiet alley. The shop window was decorated with flowers and garlands, and inside there was a cozy atmosphere. Wooden tables were set around, the walls were decorated with landscape paintings, and the air was filled with the aroma of fresh coffee and sweets. It was the perfect place for a quiet evening with a friend. Go ahead, choose what you want, Yuki suggested, sitting down at a table by the window and handing Naruto a menu. Naruto looked at the menu, feeling a little lost. Everything in this world was so strange, but at the same time so appealing. He decided to keep it simple and chose a cup of hot chocolate and a small piece of cheesecake. As they placed their order, Yuki looked at Naruto carefully. "Listen, Naruto. Are you really sure everything is okay?" he asked, leaning against the back of his chair. "You said yourself that sometimes you feel like you don't belong here. I don't want you to carry that around with you." Naruto sighed and thought for a moment. Yuki's words made him feel vulnerable, but at the same time, he knew that this was the only person he could trust with his thoughts. "You know, Yuki, I'm really not sure if this is my world. I feel like I'm living someone else's life," Naruto began. "But at the same time, when I look at you, the way you support me, I feel like this place could be my home. I don't understand what's going on, but I don't want to lose it." Yuki listened attentively, his eyes shining with genuine interest and understanding. When Naruto finished, he paused for a moment, as if considering what he had heard. "I understand," he said quietly, and there was confidence in his voice. "Maybe you just need time to adjust. You've been through a lot already, and if you need to figure yourself out, I'll be here." These words touched Naruto again. He felt something new and warm growing in his soul, a feeling he had never experienced before. It was connected to Yuki, to his sincerity and care. "Thank you, Yuki," Naruto said, trying to express all his gratitude. "You really are important to me." Yuki nodded, as if these words confirmed what he already knew. At that moment, their food arrived, and the atmosphere immediately became lighter. They began to discuss more mundane topics: school, friends, weekend plans. "You know," Yuki suddenly spoke up, "I've always felt that you were special. Not like the others. It's like you're from another world, but that's what makes you so interesting." Naruto looked at him in surprise. Yuki was always observant, but he didn't expect to hear such words. "I don't know what to say," Naruto muttered, slightly embarrassed. "You don't have to say anything," Yuki smiled. "Just be yourself. And remember that you have friends who are always there for you." Naruto nodded, feeling his heart warm at those words. He began to realize that maybe it was here, in this world, that he could find his happiness. There were people around him who cared about him and who accepted him for who he was. After the cafe, they walked around the evening city, enjoying the cool air and the lights flickering in the shop windows. Naruto and Yuki talked about many things, about school, about how to spend the weekend, about plans for the future. But in Naruto's head, only thoughts were spinning about how important Yuki's presence had become for him in his life. When they approached Naruto's house, Yuki stopped and, as if remembering something, took a small package out of his pocket. "Naruto, I wanted to give you something," he said, holding out a package. "It's a small thing, but I think you'll like it." Naruto took the gift with surprise and unwrapped it. Inside was a small pendant in the shape of a spiral, a symbol that reminded him of his former life in Konoha. "Yuki, this." Naruto froze, not knowing what to say. The gift touched him deeply. "I found it in a souvenir shop and immediately thought of you," Yuki smiled. "I thought it would suit you perfectly." Naruto couldn't help but smile. It was a symbol that connected him to the past, but now it was part of his new life. "Thank you, Yuki," Naruto said, feeling a new feeling flaring up in his soul, a deep affection and gratitude for this guy who was there at such an important moment for him. Yuki nodded and they both remained silent for a moment, enjoying the silence and the warmth of their friendship. "Okay, I have to go," Yuki finally said. "See you at school tomorrow." "Yes, see you tomorrow," Naruto replied, clutching the pendant in his hand. Yuki turned and walked back down the street, and Naruto stood at the entrance to the house and watched him go, feeling something change inside him. This was more than just friendship. Perhaps this was the beginning of something new, something he couldn't fully comprehend yet. When he finally entered the house and closed the door behind him, he was greeted by the same woman he had seen in the morning. "How did it go?" she asked, noticing the shiny gift in his hand. Everything was great, Naruto replied, trying to hold back a smile. That's good, she nodded and continued her business, leaving him in the silence of his thoughts. Naruto went up to his room. Feeling his thoughts slowly settle down. He placed the pendant on the table next to his bed and looked at it again. This small object became a symbol of a new beginning, a new path for him. As Naruto went to bed, he thought about what awaited him next. But he knew one thing for sure, next to Yuki, he would be able to find answers to all his questions and understand who he wanted to become in this world. Chapter 3, New Emotions. The morning of the third day began for Naruto with a strange feeling, as if he was in a strange body, in a strange world, but now this feeling became less disturbing than before. Over the past few days, Naruto began to gradually get used to his new surroundings, his new responsibilities and, of course, the people who became a part of his life here. But the most unexpected thing for him was how much thoughts about Yuki began to worry him. Naruto had never considered himself a person who got attached to others easily. Yes, he had always had friends for whom he was ready to sacrifice everything, but this feeling was different. It was deeper, more intimate, and frightening in its newness. He didn't understand what exactly was going on in his heart, but he couldn't deny that Yuki was taking up more and more space in his thoughts with each passing day. When Naruto looked at the pendant Yuki had given him once again, he felt a slight warmth in his chest. This simple gesture meant more to him than he could have imagined. The pendant was more than just a decoration, but a symbol of their bond that was growing stronger with each passing day. Naruto couldn't help but feel like this world was giving him a chance to start over. Here he wasn't a warrior, not a hero, but an ordinary schoolboy with ordinary teenage problems. In a way, it was liberating, but at the same time, it brought a new responsibility to him, to figure out what he really wanted in this new life. That day at school, Naruto felt different. He began to pay attention to how Yuki acted with him and others. Yuki's gaze, his smile, his soft voice, all of it filled his thoughts and made his heart beat faster. Naruto found himself watching Yuki more and more often, trying to understand what he was really like. During class, Naruto tried to focus, but thoughts of Yuki kept coming back. He wondered how this boy had managed to become such a big part of his life so quickly. What was so special about him? Perhaps it was his sincerity, the way he cared for Naruto without expecting anything in return. Or maybe it was something deeper, something Naruto couldn't quite comprehend yet. When classes ended, Naruto and Yuki walked home together again. But this time, the atmosphere between them was different, more warm and intimate. Naruto felt that something more than just friendship was developing between them, but he didn't know how to put it into words. "Hey, Naruto, you're kind of quiet today," Yuki remarked as they walked down the street, bathed in the evening sun. "What are you thinking about?" "Oh, nothing special," Naruto replied, trying to hide his confusion. "Just a little tired. Exams have been a bit of a bummer." Yuki nodded in understanding and smiled slightly. "Yes, I understand. But, you know, sometimes it's good to just relax and not think about school. Let's go somewhere sometime to take our minds off things. Maybe to the park or to the movies." Naruto felt his heart leap slightly at those words. The simple gesture of inviting them to spend time together was something important to him. He nodded, trying not to show his joy. "Sounds like a great plan," he replied, barely suppressing a smile. They continued walking in silence, but the silence was no longer awkward. It was filled with mutual understanding and a growing affection that neither of them fully realized yet. Naruto began to wonder how he wanted to spend this time with Yuki, and found himself thinking that his ideas went far beyond the boundaries of a normal friendship. As they approached Naruto's house, Yuki suddenly stopped and turned to face him. "You know, Naruto, I'm glad you came into my life," he said quietly, looking straight into his eyes. These words caught Naruto off guard. He didn't expect such a confession and was momentarily speechless. "Yuki." I'm glad I met you too, Naruto finally said, feeling his voice trembling with excitement. They stood opposite each other, and Naruto felt the space between them fill with something invisible but tangible. It was like a magnetic attraction that they both felt but couldn't quite understand. Yuki smiled and took a step back. Okay, I won't keep you. Rest, and don't forget about our offer to go somewhere, he said, gently patting Naruto on the shoulder. Of course I won't forget, Naruto answered, trying to hide his excitement. After Yuki left, Naruto stood at the entrance for a long time, trying to comprehend what had just happened. He felt that something important was happening between them, but he didn't know how to feel about it. Thoughts about their relationship going beyond simple friendship were spinning in his head, but he was afraid to take the first step and confess his feelings. Naruto spent the entire evening in thought. He tried to understand what was really going on in his heart. He found it difficult to admit, even to himself, that he felt something more than friendly affection for Yuki. It was a new and frightening feeling that he had never encountered before. When he went to bed, his thoughts were still occupied with Yuki. Naruto knew that this feeling would not go away on its own, and that sooner or later he would have to sort out his emotions. But how to do this, he did not yet know. The next day, Naruto felt a little awkward when he saw Yuki again at school. However, Yuki didn't seem to notice anything and acted the same as always, friendly and calm. This calmed Naruto down a little, but he knew that their relationship was slowly changing. Throughout the day, Naruto tried to focus on his classes, but thoughts of Yuki kept coming back. He began to wonder what it would be like to be in a relationship with a guy. It was a new and unfamiliar thought that scared him, but at the same time, it was exciting because of its unknown. That evening, when they walked home together again, Yuki suggested going to the park. Naruto agreed, happy to have the chance to spend more time together. The park was quiet and peaceful, with only a few couples strolling along the alleys, enjoying the cool evening. You know, Naruto, Yuki began as they stopped by the fountain, I keep thinking about how quickly we became friends. It feels like I've known you my whole life, even though we've only known each other for a few weeks. Naruto nodded, feeling his heart start to beat faster. He wanted to say something, but he didn't know how to express his feelings. Yuki, he began, but suddenly fell silent, not knowing how to continue. Yuki turned to him and looked at him carefully, as if trying to read his thoughts. What did you want to say? He asked softly, not taking his eyes off Naruto. Naruto felt his voice tremble traitorously, but he decided not to back down. I don't know how to put it into words, he finally said. You're important to me. Very important. And I don't want that to change. Yuki looked at him silently, and in his eyes Naruto saw something that he couldn't quite understand. It was something more than just friendship. It was something deep that made his heart clench and unclench in time with their gazes. Naruto, Yuki said quietly, taking a step closer, you're important to me too. Very important. They stood opposite each other, and Naruto felt the space between them shrink. He knew that this moment was important, perhaps even decisive for their relationship. But what to do next, he did not know. Yuki gently reached out and touched Naruto's shoulder, causing him to flinch slightly. It was a light, almost weightless touch, but it meant a lot. Naruto felt his heart fill with warmth and joy at this simple gesture. Let's not rush, Yuki finally said, smiling slightly. We have time to figure everything out. Naruto nodded, feeling his tension slowly melt away. These words calmed him down, letting him know that there was no need to rush. He was grateful to Yuki for his understanding and support. They continued walking through the park. But now there was ease and mutual understanding between them. Naruto felt that he had taken the first step towards his feelings, and although the path was still long, he was ready to go through it together with Yuki. When they got home, Naruto felt much better. He knew that their relationship was slowly moving to a new level, and it scared him, but at the same time, it brought him joy. He knew that there were many challenges ahead, but with Yuki by his side, he was ready for anything. As Naruto lay in bed, he thought about Yuki again. He was beginning to realize that his feelings for the boy went beyond simple friendship. It was something more, something he couldn't control, but didn't want to suppress. This was his new beginning, his new life, and he was ready to accept it for what it was. Over the next week, Naruto and Yuki continued to spend a lot of time together. They went to school, walked in the park, discussed everything under the sun. Their relationship grew closer and closer, and Naruto began to feel more confident in his feelings. However, one day, when they were at the park again, something happened that made Naruto think about how much his relationship with Yuki had changed. They were sitting on a bench, discussing their plans for the weekend, when Yuki suddenly took Naruto's hand. It was unexpected, but Naruto didn't feel scared or awkward. Instead, his heart filled with warmth, and he felt his fingers tighten around Yuki's hand. "Naruto," Yuki said quietly, not letting go of his hand, "I think I'm starting to understand what's going on between us. And I like it." Naruto looked at him, feeling his breath catch in his throat. He knew this moment was crucial, and he had to accept it for what it was. "I'm starting to understand that too," he replied, feeling his voice tremble with emotion. "And I don't want it to end." Yuki smiled and squeezed his hand lightly, showing that he felt the same way. At that moment, Naruto realized that their relationship had reached a new level, and now they both had to figure out their feelings and where this path would lead them. These emotions were new and scary, but Naruto was ready to move forward because he knew Yuki would be by his side. There were many challenges ahead, but with this boy by his side, he was ready for anything. Thus began a new chapter in Naruto's life, where he had to understand what it meant to love and be loved. And although this path was full of uncertainties, Naruto was ready to go through it together with Yuki, because now he knew that he had found what he had been searching for all his life, true happiness and love. Chapter 4, Romance and Doubt. Another week passed, and the feelings Naruto had for Yuki only grew stronger. The relationship between them was no longer just friendship, but Naruto still did not fully understand what was happening to him. The emotions raging in his soul frightened him with their novelty and strength, but at the same time attracted and fascinated him. Every day Naruto woke up thinking about Yuki and went to bed thinking about him. These feelings overwhelmed him and made his heart beat faster when he saw Yuki or heard his voice. But despite this, deep down inside there was fear. Naruto wasn't sure if their relationship could go any further and that Yuki felt the same way. He was afraid of losing someone who had become so important to him. One evening, after another day of school, Naruto and Yuki decided to go to the movies. It was their first real date, although they both tried not to call it that. Naruto felt a little nervous, not knowing how to act in this situation. He had never been on a date before, much less with a guy, and he didn't know how he should act. When they met at the cinema, Yuki immediately noticed that Naruto was worried about something. "Are you okay? You seem a bit tense," Yuki asked, looking at his friend with concern. Naruto smiled sheepishly and shrugged. "It's okay, I'm just a little nervous, I guess," he replied, trying to sound more confident than he actually was. Yuki smiled softly and placed his hand on his shoulder. "Relax, it's just a movie. We're here to have a good time," he said with warmth in his voice. These words calmed Naruto down a little, and he allowed himself to smile in response. They entered the cinema, chose a movie, and took their seats in the theater. The theater was half empty, which created a cozy and almost intimate atmosphere. Naruto tried to focus on the movie, but his thoughts kept returning to Yuki, who was sitting next to him. He couldn't stop thinking about how important this time spent together was to him. During the movie, Naruto noticed Yuki leaning slightly towards him. It was a subtle movement, but Naruto felt the warmth of his body, and it made his heart beat faster. He tried to focus on the screen, but all his thoughts were occupied with one thing, Yuki. When the movie was over, they left the theater and headed to a nearby cafe to discuss the movie. Naruto still felt a slight tremor in his chest, but he tried to hide his emotions. "How did you like the movie?" Yuki asked as they sat down at a table and ordered drinks. "Quite interesting," Naruto replied, although to be honest, he could hardly remember the plot of the movie. All his thoughts were occupied by Yuki. Yuki smiled, noticing his friend's distraction. "You didn't seem to be looking very much," he teased, raising an eyebrow. Naruto laughed sheepishly and ran his hand through his hair. "I guess I think too much," he admitted, looking into his coffee cup. Yuki leaned forward and looked at Naruto carefully. "What are you thinking about?" he asked seriously. Naruto felt his heart clench. He didn't want to lie, but telling the truth was scary. "About us," he finally answered, looking down. "About what's going on between us." These words made Yuki freeze for a moment, but then he smiled softly. "I think about it a lot, too," he admitted. "And I like what's happening. But I understand that this is new for both of us, and that we need time to figure it all out." Naruto looked up and met Yuki's gaze. He saw the same uncertainty he felt, but he also saw determination. "Yuki, Naruto began, but he didn't know how to continue. He wanted to say so much, but the words wouldn't come. Yuki reached out and gently took Naruto's hand. "It's okay, Naruto. There's no need to rush. We'll figure this out together," he said, squeezing his friend's hand lightly. This simple touch gave Naruto confidence. He realized that he was not alone in his feelings and that Yuki was experiencing something similar. This realization calmed him down and he was able to relax a little. They spent the evening in a cafe, discussing not only the movie, but also their feelings, thoughts, and fears. Naruto felt the tension gradually dissipate, and how he and Yuki were becoming closer to each other. These conversations were important for both of them. They helped them understand that their feelings were mutual and that they could be honest with each other. As the evening drew to a close, they walked down the deserted street to Naruto's house. The evening was cool, and Naruto could feel a light breeze brushing against his face. Despite this, he felt warm inside, as if something inside him had finally fallen into place. As they approached the house, Naruto stopped and turned to Yuki. "Thank you for this evening," he said, looking Yuki straight in the eyes. "Thank you too, Naruto," Yuki replied, smiling. They fell silent again, and Naruto felt the tension return. He didn't know how to say goodbye properly. A simple goodbye seemed too dry, but he didn't know how to express his feelings otherwise. Suddenly, Yuki stepped forward and leaned forward slightly, kissing Naruto on the cheek. This unexpected gesture made Naruto freeze in his tracks. It was the first physical manifestation of their feelings, and it was so simple, yet so important. Naruto felt his cheeks flush and he had a hard time holding back a smile. "Good night, Naruto," Yuki said, stepping back and smiling again. "Good night, Yuki," Naruto replied, feeling his heart pounding wildly. Yuki turned and walked away, and Naruto stood by the door, feeling a new feeling flaring up in his soul, happiness, mixed with a little embarrassment. That kiss on the cheek seemed so innocent, but it meant a lot to him. It was a sign that their feelings were mutual and that Yuki was ready to move on. When Naruto entered the house and closed the door behind him, he couldn't calm down for a long time. He stood in his room, looking at his reflection in the mirror and trying to comprehend what had just happened. This kiss was confirmation for him that their relationship was moving to a new level, and it filled him with joy and excitement. However, along with the joy came doubts. Naruto wasn't sure he could handle the new feelings and responsibilities. He was afraid that he might screw everything up, that he wouldn't be able to be who he wanted to be for Yuki. These thoughts haunted him and made his heart clench with anxiety. Naruto went to bed, but he couldn't fall asleep for a long time. His thoughts were racing between joy and doubt and back again. He knew Yuki had feelings for him, but he didn't know how long those feelings would keep them together. He was afraid that his inexperience and uncertainty could destroy what they had just begun to build. The next morning Naruto felt groggy. He hadn't slept well and his thoughts were still jumbled. When he got to school, Yuki immediately noticed his condition. "Naruto, you look tired. Are you okay?" he asked with genuine concern. "Yeah, everything's fine, I just didn't sleep well," Naruto answered, trying to hide his excitement. Yuki frowned, but didn't insist. He knew Naruto wasn't ready to discuss it right now, and decided not to push him. Naruto tried to focus on his lessons all day, but thoughts of Yuki kept coming back. He knew he needed to sort out his feelings and overcome his fears, otherwise he risked losing what had become important to him. After school, Yuki suggested going for a walk, and Naruto, despite his condition, agreed. They walked along quiet streets, and Yuki finally decided to talk about what had been bothering him since the morning. "Naruto, I can see that something is bothering you," he began, looking at his friend with concern. "Can you tell me what's going on?" Naruto froze for a moment, not knowing how to express his feelings. He was afraid that if he told the truth, Yuki would misunderstand him or think he was weak. Naruto began, but then trailed off again, trying to find the right words. "I'm just scared that I can't handle it. I don't know how to be in a relationship, and I'm scared that I'll screw it up." Yuki listened to him attentively, without interrupting. He understood that Naruto was revealing his deepest fears to him, and that took courage. "Naruto," Yuki said softly, stopping and turning to him, "I don't know how to be in a relationship either. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. We can learn together, and if something goes wrong, we'll figure it out together." Naruto looked at him and saw the same determination in his eyes that he felt. These words calmed him down a little and he felt the tension slowly fading away. "I just don't want to disappoint you," Naruto said quietly, looking down. Yuki walked closer and carefully lifted Naruto's head to meet his gaze. "You won't disappoint me, Naruto," he said with warmth in his voice. "I trust you, and I believe that we can get through this together." These words filled Naruto's heart with warmth and confidence. He realized that his fears did not have to become a barrier between them. Instead, they could become something that would make their relationship stronger and more solid. They continued walking, and Naruto felt his mood improve. He realized that with Yuki by his side, he didn't have to be afraid of his feelings. They were both new to this, but that didn't make their feelings any less important. On the contrary, it made their relationship even more valuable and important. As they approached Naruto's house, Yuki stopped again and looked at him with a slight smile. "It's going to be okay, Naruto," he said, squeezing his hand. "We'll get through this." Naruto nodded, feeling his heart fill with confidence. "Thank you, Yuki," he said quietly, smiling back. Yuki let go of his hand and turned to leave, but before he left, he leaned down again and kissed Naruto on the cheek. This kiss was as simple as the last time. But it held a huge meaning for Naruto. After Yuki left, Naruto stood by the door, feeling his heart fill with warmth and joy. He realized that his feelings for Yuki were not just infatuation, but something much deeper. He was willing to fight for this relationship and overcome his fears to preserve what had become important to him. That night passed peacefully for Naruto. He was finally able to sleep with a sense of confidence and joy, knowing that Yuki was there and that their feelings were mutual. He was ready for a new day and the new challenges that lay ahead. Naruto realized that love is not only happiness, but also work that requires effort and patience. But with Yuki by his side, he was ready to overcome any difficulties. Because now he knew that he had found what he had been looking for all his life, a person who was ready to go with him to the end. Chapter 5, Confession. Another week passed, and Naruto's feelings for Yuki became more and more clear and realized. They continued to spend a lot of time together, their relationship became closer, but Naruto still felt something was left unsaid. Even though they both knew how they felt, Naruto knew it was time to open up to Yuki for real. Every day when he saw Yuki, felt his support and care, his heart filled with warmth and joy. He understood that he could no longer hide his feelings, that he needed to take the first step and confess everything he felt. But the fear of possible rejection or misunderstanding continued to paralyze him. One evening, when they were once again walking in the park, Naruto decided that he could not wait any longer. That day, Yuki was especially attentive and caring, which pushed Naruto even more to the decision. He wanted their relationship to move to the next level, so that there would be no unspoken things between them. They walked along an alley lined with trees, lit by the soft light of street lamps. The evening was warm and quiet, only a breeze occasionally rustling the leaves. Naruto tried to start a conversation several times, but each time he stopped, unsure of how to approach such an important moment. "You seem a bit thoughtful today, Naruto," Yuki noted, frowning slightly. "Did something happen?" Naruto stopped and looked at Yuki. He had to gather all his courage to finally say what had been on his heart for a long time. "Yuki," he began, feeling his voice tremble treacherously. "There's something I've been wanting to tell you for a long time." Yuki froze, listening carefully. He knew that Naruto was about to say something important, and this caused a slight excitement in him. "Whatever it is, I'm always ready to listen to you," Yuki answered softly, trying to support Naruto. Naruto sighed, trying to calm his breathing. He knew that this was his chance, and that if he didn't do it now, he would regret it for the rest of his life. "I have long wanted to tell you that." Naruto paused for a moment, trying to find the words that could express the depth of his feelings. "I love you, Yuki." The words came out of his mouth with surprising ease, although inside he felt like he had taken a leap into the abyss. He didn't know how Yuki would react to his confession, and it made his heart beat faster. Yuki stood in front of him, stunned by these words. His eyes widened and his face showed a whole range of emotions, from surprise to joy. He hadn't expected to hear these words, although he had guessed how Naruto felt. "Naruto," Yuki whispered, still not believing his ears. "I know this may be sudden, and that you may not feel the same way," Naruto spoke quickly, afraid that his confession could ruin everything. "But I couldn't stay silent any longer. I just can't live without you." Yuki smiled slowly, his eyes shining with emotion as he stepped forward and took Naruto's hands, looking straight into his eyes. "Naruto," he began, his voice soft and warm, "I've wanted to tell you for a long time too, that you mean more to me than just a friend. I wasn't sure if you felt the same way, but now I'm happy that I can tell you this." Naruto froze, not believing his ears. His heart fluttered with joy when he heard these words. "I love you too." "Naruto," Yuki continued, his voice confident and calm. "You've become someone I want to see every day, someone I want to share everything I have with. You've become a part of my life, and I can't imagine it without you." These words filled Naruto's heart with incredible happiness. He felt his soul filling with joy and warmth, as all his fears and doubts dissolved into thin air. "Yuki," he whispered, feeling tears of joy welling up in his eyes. Yuki smiled softly and hugged him, holding him close. The hug was so warm and gentle that Naruto felt like everything in his life was finally falling into place. He hugged Yuki back, feeling their hearts beating in unison. "Everything will be fine, Naruto," Yuki whispered, patting his back. "We'll get through whatever comes our way. The main thing is that we're together." Naruto nodded, unable to hold back his tears. This was the moment he had been dreaming about, and now that it had finally arrived, he felt like the luckiest man in the world. They stood there, embracing, for a few more minutes, enjoying each other's closeness. This moment was a real revelation for both of them, a confirmation that their feelings were mutual and that their relationship could become even stronger. After they let go of each other, Yuki suggested that they walk a little further. Naruto agreed, and they continued walking down the alley, holding hands. There was now an ease and trust between them that strengthened their bond even more. I never thought I could fall in love with someone this much, Naruto admitted, looking at Yuki with tenderness. Me too, Yuki replied, smiling. But you know, sometimes life gives us unexpected gifts. And I'm glad that gift is you. Naruto couldn't help but smile when he heard those words. He felt like their relationship was now even more meaningful and important to both of them. As they approached Naruto's house, Yuki stopped again. Naruto, I want you to know that I will always be here for you, no matter what, he said seriously, looking straight into his eyes. I want you to feel safe and know that you are not alone. These words touched Naruto deeply. He nodded, feeling his heart fill with gratitude and love. Thank you, Yuki, he said quietly. I'll be there too, always. Yuki smiled softly and leaned down to kiss Naruto. It was the first kiss, real and full of love. It was tender and warm, filled with all the feelings they had for each other. When their lips touched, Naruto felt his heart stop and then start beating again, but with new strength. This kiss was a confirmation for him that they had made the right choice, that their feelings were sincere and mutual. After the kiss, they stood there for a long time, hugging each other, enjoying the silence and closeness of each other. Naruto felt that he had finally found his place in this world, and that with Yuki by his side, he could overcome any difficulties. When they finally said goodbye and Yuki left, Naruto walked into the house feeling light and happy. He knew that there were still many trials ahead, but now he was not afraid of them because he knew that Yuki would always be by his side. That night was special for Naruto. He went to bed with a feeling of deep satisfaction and happiness. His heart was at peace now. He knew that his love was mutual and that there were many more wonderful moments together ahead of them. The next day, Naruto woke up with a smile on his face. He couldn't wait to see Yuki again and spend time with him. When he arrived at school, Yuki greeted him with the same warm smile as always, but now there was something new in that smile, confidence in their future. They spent the entire day together, and Naruto felt their bond grow even stronger. They talked about the future, what lay ahead, and shared their dreams and hopes. For the first time in his life, Naruto felt like he could be truly happy, that he had found someone willing to walk this path with him. In the evening, they walked around the park again, enjoying each other and the quiet conversation. At one point, Yuki suggested going to a small cafe they often visited. Naruto happily agreed, and they headed there. As they entered the cafe and sat down at a table, Yuki suddenly took out a small bag from his pocket and handed it to Naruto. I wanted to give you this, he said, smiling slightly sheepishly. It's something special to me, and I want you to have it. Naruto looked at the package in surprise, then carefully opened it. Inside was a small star-shaped pendant. This is, Naruto began, not knowing what to say. I found it a long time ago when I was in a souvenir shop, Yuki explained. It reminds me of you, of the way you light up when you smile. And I want it to be with you always, as a symbol of our connection. Naruto couldn't hold back tears of joy when he heard these words. He took the pendant and carefully put it on his neck. Thank you, Yuki, he said, feeling his heart fill with happiness. This means a lot to me. Yuki smiled and took Naruto's hand. For me too, he answered quietly. They sat in the cafe for a few more hours, talking and enjoying each other's company. Naruto felt a special bond being formed between them, one that grew stronger with each passing day. He knew that this was the beginning of something wonderful, and that their future would be filled with love and happiness. As the evening drew to a close, they left the cafe and headed home. Naruto felt his heart overflow with joy and gratitude for having Yuki in his life. I love you, Yuki, he said quietly as they approached the house. I love you too, Naruto, Yuki replied, squeezing his hand lightly. They kissed again and Naruto felt all his doubts and fears disappear. He now knew that their love was the most important thing they had and that together they could overcome any difficulties. When Naruto entered the house, he felt the same joy and satisfaction as the day before. Now his life seemed complete and meaningful because Yuki, the person who had become everything to him, was by his side. This night was another milestone on the road to happiness for Naruto. He knew that there were still many trials ahead, but now he was ready for them because he knew that the one he loved would always be there. The next morning, Naruto woke up feeling calm and confident. He knew that he had made the right choice and that his life would now be filled with love and happiness. He couldn't wait to see Yuki again and spend another wonderful day with him. When he arrived at school, Yuki greeted him with the same warm smile as always, but now there was something new in that smile, confidence in their future. They spent the entire day together, and Naruto felt their bond grow even stronger. They talked about the future, what lay ahead, and shared their dreams and hopes. For the first time in his life, Naruto felt like he could be truly happy, that he had found someone willing to walk this path with him. Naruto now knew that there would be many trials ahead, but he was not afraid of them because he knew that Yuki would always be by his side. Their love became a source of strength and inspiration for him, and he was ready to overcome any difficulties to keep this feeling. Their journey was just beginning, and Naruto was determined to go through it to the end, knowing that there would always be someone next to him who was ready to support and help in any situation. Chapter 6: Closer to Each Other. After the mutual confessions that Naruto and Yuki had shared the previous evening, their relationship began to deepen rapidly. They were no longer just close friends, but were beginning to open up to each other on a new, more intimate level. It was exciting, but also a little scary, especially for Naruto, who was experiencing such deep and tender feelings for the first time in his life. The morning began with Naruto waking up with an unusual feeling of lightness. Usually he woke up ready for another day full of worries and difficulties, but today everything was different. It seemed to him that the world around him had become brighter, and his own life had acquired a new meaning. He thought about Yuki and couldn't help but smile, realizing that now his life had changed forever. When he arrived at school, Yuki was already waiting for him at the entrance. When she saw Naruto, she smiled, and Naruto felt his heart beat faster again. There was no longer any room for unsaid words or hidden emotions in their relationship. They were closer to each other than ever, and this brought Naruto an incredible feeling of joy. "Good morning, Naruto," Yuki said, coming closer and lightly touching his hand. "Good morning, Yuki," Naruto replied, feeling his heart fill with warmth from the simple touch. They walked into the school together, and Naruto couldn't help but notice how their relationship was starting to attract the attention of the other students. Some of them looked at them with curiosity, others with a little jealousy. But Naruto didn't care. The only thing that mattered to him was that Yuki was there. Naruto tried to concentrate during class, but thoughts of Yuki kept coming back. He thought about how their relationship had changed, and he felt like there was more to them than just friendship now. This feeling made him happy and confident, but it also scared him a little. After school, Yuki suggested that Naruto go to the park to spend time together. Naruto happily agreed. They walked along the green alleys of the park, enjoying the silence in each other's company. At one point, they stopped at a small pond where ducks were swimming on the surface of the water. "Yuki, I can't believe all of this is actually happening," Naruto admitted, looking at the reflection of their faces in the water. "It all seems so unreal, but at the same time, so right." Yuki smiled slightly and took Naruto's hand. "I know it may seem strange, but I think this is exactly what we both need," she replied. "You made me understand that love is more than just words. It is what makes us stronger and helps us cope with any difficulties." Naruto felt his heart fill with joy at these words. He knew that their relationship was still in its early stages and there would be many challenges ahead, but he was ready to overcome them together with Yuki. They spent a few more hours walking around the park, talking about their plans for the future and sharing their dreams. Naruto felt his affection for Yuki growing stronger with each passing day, and it brought him an incredible sense of happiness. As the evening drew to a close, Yuki invited Naruto to come over to her house to spend time together and watch a movie. Naruto agreed, although he was a little nervous. This was a new stage in their relationship, and he didn't know what to expect. When they entered Yuki's apartment, Naruto was surprised by how cozy and warm her home was. Everything was furnished with taste, the room was filled with books, photographs, and other personal items that made the apartment feel like home. "Make yourself at home," Yuki said, leading Naruto into the living room. "I'll make us something to drink." Naruto sat down on the soft sofa and began to look around. He liked how everything was organized in the apartment, every object was in its place, and this created a sense of order and harmony. He felt calm and cozy in this space. When Yuki returned with 2 cups of hot tea, they sat together on the couch and began to discuss the movie they were going to watch. Naruto was glad that they could spend time together in such a relaxed atmosphere. The movie was interesting, but Naruto could barely focus on the plot. All his attention was focused on Yuki, who was sitting next to him. Every time their hands accidentally touched each other, Naruto felt his heart skip a beat and then start beating faster again. These moments were so simple, but at the same time incredibly important to him. After the movie, they talked for a long time, discussing what they had seen and sharing their thoughts. Naruto felt like there was more to them than just physical intimacy. It was a real emotional connection that made their relationship even more meaningful. When it was time to leave, Yuki offered Naruto to stay the night so he wouldn't have to come home late. Naruto paused for a moment, considering the offer, but then agreed. It was another step forward in their relationship, and he felt he was ready for it. Yuki led him to the bedroom and showed him where to put his things. "You can use my pajamas if you want," she said with a smile. "They may be a little big, but I think they'll fit you." Naruto thanked her and accepted the offered pajamas. He felt a little awkward, but at the same time pleased that Yuki cared about him. When Naruto got changed and came out of the bathroom, Yuki was already lying on the bed reading a book. She smiled at Naruto and put the book aside. "You look cute in my pajamas," she said with a smile. Naruto felt his cheeks flush, but he smiled back. "Thank you," he replied, lying down next to Yuki. They lay next to each other, and Naruto felt a special atmosphere between them. It was a feeling of complete trust and mutual understanding that filled their hearts with warmth and joy. "Yuki," Naruto began, looking at her tenderly, "I'm so happy that you came into my life. You changed me and made my life better." Yuki smiled and took Naruto's hand. "I'm happy that I met you too, Naruto. You opened my eyes to many things and helped me understand what true love is," she replied, squeezing his hand lightly. They looked at each other in silence and Naruto felt his heart swell with emotion. He knew that their relationship had reached a new level and they were now truly close. "I want us to be together forever," Naruto said quietly, feeling his voice tremble with emotion. "I can't imagine my life without you." Yuki smiled softly and leaned down to kiss Naruto. The kiss was warm and loving, expressing all the feelings they both had for each other. When their lips parted, Yuki whispered softly, "I also want to be with you always, Naruto. You are all I need." These words filled Naruto's heart with joy and confidence in the future. He knew that with Yuki by his side, he could overcome any difficulties, and that their love would be the foundation for their future life together. They lay there for a long time, hugging and talking about their dreams and plans. Naruto felt like every moment he spent with Yuki was a real treasure for him, and he didn't want this evening to end. At some point, when they were almost falling asleep, Yuki turned to Naruto and whispered, "I love you, Naruto." Naruto smiled and replied, "I love you too, Yuki." These words were their last that evening, and soon they both fell asleep, feeling that they had found in each other everything they could dream of. When Naruto woke up the next morning, he felt truly happy. The sun was already breaking through the curtains, and he saw that Yuki was still sleeping next to him, breathing peacefully. This moment was something special for Naruto. He realized that he had found his happiness and was now ready to do everything possible to keep it. Naruto carefully got out of bed so as not to wake Yuki and went to the kitchen to make breakfast. He wanted to do something nice for Yuki, to show how much their relationship meant to him. When Yuki woke up and went into the kitchen, Naruto was already making an omelette. When he saw Yuki, he smiled and called her to the table. "I decided to make breakfast," Naruto said, feeling a little embarrassed, but at the same time proud of his efforts. Yuki walked up to him and hugged him from behind, kissing him tenderly on the cheek. "You're so caring, Naruto," she whispered, smiling. This simple moment, filled with warmth and love, was something special for Naruto. He realized that their relationship had truly deepened, that they had become truly close. They had breakfast together, discussing their plans for the day. Naruto felt like every moment spent with Yuki made his life better. He knew that now he had someone who would always be there, who would always support him and help him in difficult times. After breakfast, they decided to spend the day together, walking around the city and visiting different places that they loved. This day was one of the best in Naruto's life. He felt like he had found his happiness and was now ready to do everything he could to keep it. That evening, when they returned home, Naruto once again felt the same joy and satisfaction as he had in the morning. He knew that there were many more wonderful moments ahead of them together, and that their relationship would grow stronger with each passing day. "Yuki," Naruto began as they sat on the couch, hugging each other, "I want you to know that I'm willing to go through anything with you. I love you and I want to be with you forever." Yuki smiled and replied, "I'm also ready to go through everything with you, Naruto. You're all I need." These words became a confirmation for them that their love had become truly strong and powerful. Naruto knew that now they would be able to overcome any difficulties, and that their future would be filled with happiness and love. They sat together for a long time, enjoying each other's company. Naruto felt that he had found his place in this world, and that with Yuki by his side he could be truly happy. This night became another milestone on the road to happiness for Naruto. He knew that there would be many trials ahead, but now he was ready for them because he knew that the one he loved would always be by his side. When they finally went to bed, Naruto felt his heart fill with joy and confidence in the future. He knew that their love would be the foundation for their future life together, and that there would be many more wonderful moments ahead of them. Naruto fell asleep with a smile on his face, knowing that he had found his happiness, and that Yuki would always be by his side, the girl who had become everything to him. Chapter 7: Problems and Misunderstandings. After several weeks of happy moments, Naruto and Yuki's relationship became more meaningful and deep. They became inseparable, spending almost all of their free time together. However, despite this, Naruto began to notice that small cracks were appearing in their relationship. These small problems seemed insignificant at first, but over time they began to accumulate, creating more and more tension between them. It all started with minor misunderstandings. Naruto and Yuki would sometimes fight over small things, different tastes in music, movies, or even how they spent their time. They usually made up quickly, but each incident left its mark, making Naruto wonder if everything was okay in their relationship. One such incident was an argument about an upcoming school event. The school was organizing a big autumn festival, and Yuki was looking forward to it. She suggested that Naruto participate in one of the competitions together, but Naruto, tired of studying and everyday worries, refused. "Naruto, you know how important this festival is to me," Yuki said with a slight note of disappointment in her voice. "Why don't you want to participate?" "I just don't want to waste time on it," Naruto replied with a shrug. "I think we have more important things to focus on right now." Yuki frowned, not understanding why Naruto was giving up something that could bring them closer together. "But it's fun," she insisted. "We could spend time together, and maybe it would help us understand each other better." Yuki, I just don't see the point, Naruto sighed. Let's just spend time together without all the noise and fuss. This conversation ended with Yuki nodding in disappointment and stepping back. She didn't want to pressure Naruto, but it left a bad taste in her mouth. She felt like her desires and aspirations were not being understood. Naruto, in turn, felt guilty for not supporting Yuki in her initiative, but at the same time he couldn't get rid of the feeling that their disagreements were becoming more and more frequent. The problems worsened when Naruto began to notice that Yuki was becoming more distant. She spent more time with her friends, called him less often, and shared less of her thoughts and experiences with him. Naruto, who was always there to support Yuki, began to feel that his place in her life was becoming less important. One evening, when Naruto and Yuki were walking in the park, he couldn't stand it any longer and decided to talk to her about his feelings. "Yuki, what's going on?" Naruto asked, trying to hide the worry in his voice. "I feel like you're drifting away from me. We've been talking less, and I feel like something's wrong between us." Yuki stopped and looked at him, but her eyes didn't have the sincerity and openness that Naruto was used to. "Naruto, She began, but then trailed off, as if she didn't know how to express her feelings. "It's just that lately I've been feeling like things aren't the same between us. We fight all the time, and I'm afraid that it's going to ruin our relationship." Naruto felt his insides clench in pain. He knew that their relationship was indeed in trouble, but he didn't expect Yuki to feel the same way. "I feel it too," he said quietly, looking at Yuki. "But I don't want it to destroy us. We can talk about it, find a solution." Yuki nodded, but her eyes showed that it was hard for her to talk about it. They continued walking, but the conversation did not go well. Both felt a tension that they could not relieve. Another week passed and the tension between them only grew. Naruto felt their relationship gradually becoming colder and it scared him. He didn't want to lose Yuki, but he didn't know how to fix the situation. Things came to a head when they had another small argument, this time over which movie to watch that night. Yuki suggested a romantic comedy, but Naruto declined, saying he wasn't in the mood for that kind of movie. Yuki responded by accusing him of not taking her wishes into account and doing things his own way. "You never want to do what I like," Yuki exclaimed, feeling tears welling up in her eyes. "I understand that you have your own preferences, but why can't you ever accommodate me?" Naruto looked at her in shock, not understanding how things had gotten this far. "Yuki, I don't want you to feel this way," he said, trying to calm her down. "But you also have to understand that sometimes I'm just not in the mood." "I understand," Yuki interrupted, wiping away her tears. "But you have to understand that a relationship isn't just about you. It's about us. And if you don't want to take my wishes into account, then what's the point of all this?" The words hit Naruto like a hammer. He couldn't believe Yuki had said that. He had always thought that they were building a relationship together, but now he realized that maybe he had been missing important things. Naruto started, but he didn't know what to say. He felt panic rising in him. Yuki sighed and turned away, looking into the distance. "Maybe we should cool off a little," she said, her voice quiet and tired. "Just take a break and think about what we really need." These words sounded like a death sentence to Naruto. He didn't want to lose Yuki, didn't want their relationship to fall apart. But he also understood that they were truly at a dead end now. "Okay," he said quietly, feeling his heart squeeze with pain. "If that's what you need." Yuki nodded, but didn't answer. They stood there for a few more minutes, but no more words came. Eventually, Yuki turned and walked away, leaving Naruto alone. Naruto stood there for a long time, trying to comprehend what was happening. He felt his heart filling with bitterness and despair. He knew he had made mistakes, but he didn't know how to fix them. The next few days were some of the hardest in Naruto's life. He couldn't focus on anything, his thoughts kept returning to Yuki and their last conversation. He didn't know what to do next, but one thing was clear: he didn't want to lose Yuki. Naruto tried to distract himself by going about his daily business, but everything seemed meaningless without Yuki by his side. He felt empty and alone. Even his friends began to notice the changes in his behavior, but Naruto didn't want to involve anyone in his problems. It had been a week since he and Yuki had decided to take a break. Every day without her was becoming more and more difficult for Naruto. He realized how much she meant to him and how important it was for him to maintain their relationship. At one point, sitting alone in the park where he and Yuki often walked, Naruto realized that he couldn't stand this separation any longer. He decided that he had to talk to her, try to explain everything and find a solution. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to fight for their love. Later that evening, Naruto dialed Yuki's number. His heart was beating so hard it felt like it was going to jump out of his chest. Each ring seemed like an eternity, but finally Yuki answered. "Hello, Naruto." Her voice was quiet, but it didn't have the joy he was used to. "Hey, Yuki," Naruto replied, trying to hide his excitement. "We need to talk. I can't do this anymore." Yuki was silent for a few seconds before answering. "Okay. Let's meet at our park in an hour." "I'll be there," Naruto said quietly, feeling excitement mixed with hope. When Naruto reached the park, Yuki was already waiting for him at their favorite bench. She looked tired, and Naruto felt his heart squeeze with guilt. He knew that their problems were hurting her as much as it was hurting him. "Yuki," Naruto began, coming closer. "I'm sorry. I know I've been unfair to you lately. I haven't taken your feelings and desires into account, and that's wrong. I don't want our relationship to end like this." Yuki looked at him, and a shadow of pain flashed in her eyes, but also something else, a desire to understand and be understood. "Naruto, I don't want our relationship to end either," she replied with a sigh. "But we need to figure out how we can be together without hurting each other. We've both made mistakes, and I think we need to learn to listen to each other and take each other's wishes and feelings into account." Naruto nodded, feeling his heart fill with determination. "You're right," he said quietly. "I'm willing to change my behavior, willing to work on our relationship to make it better. You're very important to me, Yuki, and I don't want to lose you." Yuki nodded slowly, her eyes glistening with tears, but a small smile appeared on her face. "I am also ready to work on our relationship," she said. "I believe that we can overcome all difficulties if we are together." Naruto stepped forward and hugged Yuki. She hugged him back and they stood there, feeling the tension slowly fade away, giving way to warmth and hope. They talked for a long time, discussing their feelings, experiences and mistakes. Naruto realized that it was important not only to express your desires, but also to listen to your partner, understand their needs and be ready to compromise. Yuki, in turn, admitted that sometimes she overreacted to the situation and did not give Naruto a chance to explain her behavior. They both realized that their relationship needed constant work and mutual understanding. That night became a new milestone in their relationship. They realized that each of them was ready to fight for their love and do everything possible to save it. They decided that they would work on themselves, on their mistakes and strive to become better for each other. As Naruto walked Yuki home, he felt that their relationship had grown stronger after this ordeal. They had gone through their first major crisis, but they had come out of it knowing that their love was worth fighting for. Saying goodbye at the door, Yuki gently kissed Naruto on the cheek and quietly said, "I love you, Naruto. Thank you for fighting for us." "I love you too, Yuki," he replied, feeling his heart fill with happiness. "And I will fight for us forever." Naruto watched Yuki enter the house and felt that their future had become clearer and brighter. He knew that there were still many challenges ahead of them, but now he was confident that they could overcome them together. That night left Naruto with a deep sense of satisfaction and hope. He knew that he and Yuki had been through a rough patch, but they had gotten through it and were stronger. Now they could look to the future with confidence and faith that their love would only grow stronger. Chapter 8, Peace and Reconciliation. After a turbulent period of quarrels and misunderstandings, Naruto and Yuki's relationship began to return to a calmer level. The conversation they had in the park was a turning point for both of them, allowing them to see how significant their feelings for each other were. Now, they both sought to make their relationship stronger and more harmonious. The morning of a new day began with Naruto waking up with a slight feeling of calm and satisfaction. He knew that he had a meeting with Yuki ahead of him, and this made his heart beat faster. He understood that after the crisis they had gone through, they had become closer, but there was still something that needed to be discussed and clarified. When Naruto arrived at school, Yuki was already waiting for him at the entrance. She greeted him with a warm smile, and Naruto felt all of his worries fade into the background. He was glad to see that her eyes were shining with joy, and that they both seemed to have overcome the tension that had built up between them. "Good morning, Naruto," Yuki said, lightly touching his arm. Her touch was light, but there was confidence in it. "Good morning, Yuki," Naruto replied, barely holding back a smile. They walked into the school together and headed to their classrooms. They had no important lessons or exams that day, which gave them the opportunity to spend more time together, discussing what they had experienced in the past weeks. During the break, they met in the schoolyard and sat down on a bench under a tree that they had long chosen for their conversations. Autumn leaves slowly fell to the ground, creating an atmosphere of calm and peace around them. "Naruto," Yuki began, looking at the fallen leaves a little thoughtfully, "I've been thinking a lot about what we've been through lately. I realized that I sometimes overreacted to your words and actions. But I also realized that these were important lessons for both of us." Naruto listened to her attentively, feeling her words find a response in his heart. He himself had repeatedly replayed the events of the last weeks in his head and understood that they had both made mistakes. "I thought about it too, Yuki," he answered quietly, looking at her tenderly. "We both made mistakes, but the important thing is that we were able to realize them and are ready to work on ourselves. I realized that love is not only joy, but also work. Work on yourself, on relationships. And I am ready to do it for us." Yuki smiled and took his hand. "I'm ready too, Naruto," she said, squeezing his hand. "I want our relationship to be strong and harmonious. I want us to always be able to talk to each other openly and without fear of being misunderstood." These words brought Naruto a feeling of deep satisfaction. He knew that their relationship was now stronger, that they understood each other more. They were both ready to move on, to work on their feelings and strive to make their love grow even stronger. They continued to discuss their plans for the future, sharing their dreams and hopes. Naruto felt that there were no longer the tense moments between them that they had experienced before. Instead, there was a new feeling of closeness and trust. After school, Naruto and Yuki decided to spend the evening together. They went to their favorite cafe, where they often sat together, discussing their affairs and plans. That evening, the cafe was surprisingly quiet, and this allowed them to delve even deeper into their conversations. "Naruto," Yuki began after they'd ordered their drinks, "have you ever thought about what's next for us? I mean, we're a lot closer now, but how do we see our future?" Naruto paused for a moment, considering her question. He often thought about the future himself, but he had never dared to discuss it with Yuki. "I've thought about it," he answered honestly, looking into her eyes. "I see us together. I want us to continue building our relationship, to make it stronger every day. But I also understand that we still have a lot to learn about each other." Yuki nodded, agreeing with him. "Yes, I think so too," she said. "Sometimes it seems to me that we are only at the beginning of the path, but it does not frighten me. On the contrary, I even like it. I like to think that we will go this way together, supporting each other." These words brought a warm feeling to Naruto's heart. He realized that Yuki viewed their relationship the same way he did. This gave him confidence that they would be able to overcome any difficulties that came their way. They continued their conversation, discussing not only their relationship, but also their plans for the near future. Naruto suggested going out of town for the weekend to spend time in nature and get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Yuki happily agreed, and they began planning the trip. As the evening drew to a close, Naruto walked Yuki home. They stood at her front door, enjoying the quiet evening air. "Thank you for this evening, Naruto," Yuki said, smiling. "I'm very glad that we were able to talk and understand each other." "Me too, Yuki," Naruto replied, feeling his heart fill with joy. "I'm happy that things are working out for us." Yuki stepped closer and hugged him. Their embrace was warm and filled with love. Naruto felt all his doubts and worries finally dissolve. "I love you, Naruto," Yuki whispered, clinging to him. "I love you too, Yuki," Naruto replied, feeling his heart fill with happiness. They said their goodbyes and Naruto went home feeling light and satisfied. This evening had confirmed his confidence that he and Yuki could overcome any difficulties and continue to build their relationship based on trust and love. The next few days were spent happily preparing for their little trip out of town. Naruto and Yuki were looking forward to the weekend so they could spend time together, enjoying nature and silence. They discussed what places they wanted to visit, what to pack, and how to spend time together. When the weekend finally arrived, they met early in the morning at the train station and boarded a train that would take them out of the city. Naruto felt his heart swell with joy for the upcoming trip. He was glad that they would be able to spend time together away from the hustle and bustle, enjoying the peace and nature. When they arrived at the place, they were greeted by a beautiful view of the mountains and forest. Yuki looked around with delight, and Naruto couldn't help but admire her enthusiasm. "It's so beautiful here," Yuki said, looking at the majestic mountains and dense forests. "I've always dreamed of visiting a place like this." "I'm glad we came here too," Naruto replied, smiling. "Here you can forget about everything and just enjoy the moment." They went to a small house they had rented for the weekend. The house was cozy and located in a quiet place, away from other tourists. Naruto and Yuki felt right at home there, enjoying the peace and privacy. On the first day, they decided to go for a walk in the forest. Naruto prepared in advance and took a map of the area with him so as not to get lost. They walked along the path, discussing everything under the sun, enjoying the fresh air and beautiful views. "Naruto, have you ever thought about staying in a place like this for a while?" Yuki asked, stopping to admire the view of the valley. Naruto thought for a moment. "You know, Yuki, sometimes I think that city life is too hectic," he replied. "Maybe someday, in the future, I'd like to live in a place like that. Somewhere where I can enjoy the peace and nature." Yuki smiled when she heard his words. "I think it would be wonderful," she said. "Living in such a place together, away from the hustle and bustle. It sounds like a dream." Naruto felt his heart fill with warmth at these words. He began to imagine how he and Yuki could live in such a place, build their life together, enjoy every moment. After a long walk, they returned to the house and decided to cook dinner. Naruto and Yuki began cooking together, discussing different recipes and laughing at their culinary failures. It was a special evening for them, filled with laughter, joy, and love. After dinner, they went outside to admire the starry sky. The sky was clear and the stars were shining brightly, creating a magical atmosphere around them. Naruto and Yuki sat on the porch of the house, hugging each other, and looked at the stars, enjoying the silence and tranquility. "You know, Naruto," Yuki said quietly, looking at the stars, "I've always dreamed of seeing a sky like this. The stars aren't as bright in the city, but here they seem to come alive." "I'm glad we were able to see it together," Naruto replied, squeezing her hand gently. "These moments remain in our memories for a lifetime." They sat in silence, enjoying this magical moment. Naruto felt how everything around him became secondary, and the most important thing was the one sitting next to him. He knew that these moments strengthened their connection, made it even stronger and more meaningful. When the night had already fully come into its own, they decided to return to the house. Naruto and Yuki went to bed, but they could not fall asleep for a long time, discussing what they had seen, sharing their thoughts and dreams. They felt something special arising between them, something that made their bond even stronger. The next day, they went on a short trip around the area. They visited an ancient temple located on top of a mountain, which had a stunning view of the valley. Yuki was delighted with the place, and Naruto was glad to see her joy. "This place seems to be made for meditation and reflection," Yuki said, looking at the temple and its surroundings. "Here you can find peace and harmony." "Yes, this is a really special place," Naruto agreed, admiring the views. "I'm glad we came here." After visiting the temple, they went down to the valley where they found a small cafe hidden among the trees. There they decided to stop for lunch and enjoy local dishes. This day became a real holiday for them, filled with joy and new impressions. As the weekend came to an end, Naruto and Yuki returned to the city feeling that their relationship had become even stronger. They had spent an unforgettable time together, which helped them not only strengthen their feelings, but also understand each other better. "I'll never forget this weekend," Yuki said when they got home. "It was special for me, and I want us to have more moments like this." "Me too, Yuki," Naruto replied, hugging her tenderly. "This weekend has shown me how important it is to be together, to support each other, and to enjoy every moment." They stood there for a long time, embracing, enjoying the silence and each other's closeness. Naruto felt that their relationship had become truly strong and meaningful. He knew that there were still many trials ahead, but now he was sure that they could overcome them together. This trip was an important step in their relationship for both of them, confirming their willingness to work on themselves and strive for harmony. Naruto and Yuki could now look to the future with confidence, knowing that their love would be the foundation for their life together. Chapter 9: Trust and Devotion. After the unforgettable weekend that Naruto and Yuki spent away from the hustle and bustle of the city, their relationship became even stronger. Returning to everyday life was a test of sorts for them. Despite the routine and responsibilities, they tried to maintain the closeness and trust that had developed between them during the trip. As the week progressed, Naruto began to notice that although he and Yuki had grown closer, there was something different about her behavior. It was a subtle tension that showed up in small ways, in the way she looked, in the slight pauses between words, in the subtle tones of her voice. Naruto couldn't immediately figure out what was going on, but he sensed that something was bothering Yuki. These changes became especially noticeable in the middle of the week, when they were preparing for a school project together. Yuki was usually full of enthusiasm and ideas, but this time her thoughts seemed to be somewhere far away. Naruto tried to start a conversation several times, but each time Yuki looked away, answering with short phrases. One such evening, when they were sitting at the same table in the library, Naruto felt that he could no longer ignore what was bothering him. "Yuki," he began quietly, interrupting their work. "Is something wrong? I've noticed that you've been different lately. I'm worried about you." Yuki, who was currently deep in her reading, froze for a moment, and then slowly looked up. In her eyes, Naruto saw something that made his heart beat faster, a mixture of worry and fear. "Naruto, she began, but then trailed off, as if she didn't know how to express her thoughts. "I didn't mean to bother you, but I need to talk to you." Naruto moved closer, ready to hear whatever Yuki had to say. Her words sounded tense, and it made him tense up. "You know that I trust you," Yuki continued, trying to cope with the emotions that had overwhelmed her. "And this trust is very important to me. But there is something that I have kept from you for a long time. Not because I did not want to tell you, but because I did not know how you would take it." Naruto felt his heart clench. He didn't know what Yuki might be hiding from him, but he was willing to listen to her and understand whatever it was. "Yuki," he said quietly, trying to sound confident, "you can tell me anything. I'm here to support you. And I promise I won't judge you." Yuki closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and slowly exhaled, as if gathering her courage. When she looked back at Naruto, there was determination in her eyes. "Okay," she said, finally deciding to tell him the truth. "It's about my family, and why I've avoided talking about it for so long." Naruto listened carefully without interrupting her. "My family, it's not like everyone else's," Yuki began, her voice quiet and tense. "My parents are very strict and demanding. They always wanted me to be the best in everything, in school, in sports, in social life. But at the same time, they never cared about what I wanted myself. All my achievements were important only because they saw their merit in them. And all this created a huge gap between us." Naruto felt his heart fill with sympathy. He knew it was hard for Yuki to talk about this, and he was grateful that she had decided to open up to him. "I could never really trust them," Yuki continued, her voice shaking slightly. "And that's why I value our relationship so much, Naruto. You're the first person I can trust without fear of being judged. But that's exactly why I'm so afraid of losing you." These words struck Naruto like a thunderclap. He couldn't believe that Yuki could doubt his feelings. "Yuki," he began, struggling to find the words, "I didn't know you had to go through this. But now that I do, I want you to know that I'm here for you. I love you not for your accomplishments or your successes, but for who you really are. And I'm never going to leave you." Yuki nodded, her eyes glistening with tears, but a small smile appeared on her face. "Thank you, Naruto," she said quietly. "I know I can trust you, and that's the most important thing to me. But I needed you to know the truth, to understand why I sometimes act the way I do." Naruto took her hand and squeezed her fingers gently. "We'll get through this together, Yuki," he said confidently. "Now that I know, I'll be there to support you at any time. You're the most important thing to me, and I want you to always feel safe with me." Yuki couldn't hold back her tears and finally allowed herself to relax. She hugged Naruto, feeling all the tension of the last few days slowly melt away. This was a big moment for both of them, a moment when trust and loyalty became the foundation of their relationship. The following days brought a sense of calm and peace to Naruto and Yuki. They no longer felt the tension that had arisen between them before. Instead, their relationship was filled with even greater closeness and trust. Naruto felt that they had now become a true team, ready to face any difficulties together. On Saturday, Naruto and Yuki decided to spend the day outdoors. They took everything they needed for a picnic and went to their favorite park, where they often spent time together. The weather was beautiful, warm sun and a light breeze created ideal conditions for relaxation. They chose a quiet spot under a large tree, laid out a blanket and settled down on it, enjoying the view of the lake. Yuki brought sandwiches and fruit, and Naruto took care of drinks and dessert. This day became a real holiday for them, filled with joy and peace. "You know, Naruto," Yuki began as they were enjoying their lunch, "I'm so grateful that you came into my life. You made it better and helped me see the world from a different perspective." "I'm glad I can be by your side, Yuki," Naruto replied, smiling. "You changed my life too. You taught me what true love and trust are. And I'll never stop appreciating that." They spent the entire day discussing everything from their future plans to funny stories from their childhood. Naruto felt that their relationship had become even stronger, and their trust in each other became the foundation for their future journey together. As the sun began to set and the sky turned warm shades of pink and orange, they decided to take a walk along the lake. Yuki walked next to Naruto, holding his hand, enjoying the peace and quiet that surrounded them. "I've never felt so calm and confident as I do now," Yuki admitted as they stopped to admire the sunset. Before, I always felt like I had to prove something, always be on top. But with you, I can just be myself." Naruto smiled when he heard those words. "I'm glad you feel this way, Yuki," he said, gently stroking her hand. "You are who I want you to be. And I'm happy that I can be a part of your life." They stood for a long time on the shore of the lake, enjoying the moment. In the silence, broken only by the gentle splash of the waves, Naruto and Yuki realized that their love had become even stronger, and that they were ready for any trials that might come their way. When they got home, Yuki invited Naruto to stay for dinner. They cooked together, laughed and joked, enjoying each other's company. The evening passed in a relaxed atmosphere, and when they finally sat down at the table, Naruto felt his heart fill with joy and satisfaction. "This day was great," Naruto said as they enjoyed their dessert. "I wish we could have more days like this." "Me too, Naruto," Yuki agreed, smiling. "Days like these show that the most important thing is to be with the one you love. And I'm happy that we have this opportunity." After dinner, they settled down on the couch, cuddling, and turned on a movie. It was an old romantic movie that Yuki had been wanting to watch for a long time, and Naruto happily joined her. When the movie ended and the room fell silent, Yuki turned to Naruto and looked into his eyes. "Naruto," she began quietly, "I know we've been through a lot lately, but I feel like we've become even closer now. I want you to know that you're the most important person in my life." Naruto felt his heart skip a beat at those words. He knew that this confession was a very important step for Yuki. "Yuki," he said, trying to express all his feelings, "you are the most important thing to me too. I love you more than anything in the world, and I will always be by your side, no matter what happens." Yuki smiled and hugged Naruto, pressing her whole body against him. This moment became a confirmation for them that they had gone through all the trials and had become even stronger and closer to each other. When the night had already come into its own and they both felt tired, Naruto walked Yuki to the bedroom. He helped her settle in, wished her good night and, after softly kissing her forehead, quietly left the room, heading towards the exit. When he was already at the door, Yuki quietly called him. "Naruto," her voice was quiet, but there was tenderness in it. "Stay with me today." Naruto paused, considering her words. He knew that this was a big step in their relationship, and he was ready for it. "Okay," he answered quietly, returning to the room and closing the door behind him. Yuki looked at him with a small smile as he approached the bed. Naruto sat down next to her and they talked for a long time, discussing the past day and their feelings. This moment was a confirmation for both of them that they were ready to move on, deepening their bond and trust. As the night had completely consumed the room, Naruto and Yuki fell asleep, hugging each other, feeling their love grow stronger and stronger. They knew that there were still many trials ahead, but now they were confident that they could overcome them together. That day left a sense of peace and satisfaction in their hearts, showing that trust and loyalty are the foundation of a strong relationship. Naruto and Yuki could now look to the future with confidence and hope, knowing that they would always be there for each other, no matter what happened. Chapter 10: New Challenges. Several weeks had passed since Naruto and Yuki had become closer, sharing their deepest thoughts and experiences. Their relationship was growing stronger. And each day brought a new sense of happiness and satisfaction. However, in the world they lived in, not everything was as simple as it seemed at first glance. One morning, when Naruto and Yuki arrived at school, they met Alisa Mikhailovna Kuznetsova, known as Alya. Alya was Yuki's classmate and also one of the most popular girls in school due to her bright appearance and Russian roots. She was mysterious, smart, and sometimes even a little cold. Although Yuki and Alya were on good terms, Naruto couldn't help but notice that there was always some tension between them. That day, Alya approached them with an unexpected proposal. "Yuki," Alya began, looking at her with her piercing blue eyes, "the guys and I decided to organize a literary club. We will have several interesting meetings and discussions about Russian literature. I know that you might be interested in this. Yuki smiled, a little embarrassed by such an unexpected invitation. That sounds great, Alya, Yuki replied. I've always loved Russian literature. I think it'll be interesting. Naruto, who was standing next to him, felt a slight uneasiness. He knew that Yuki had always been drawn to literature, but he also knew that Alya was a complex and multi-layered person. Perhaps she didn't like that Yuki was so happy with Naruto lately, and this invitation was some kind of test, or even an attempt to test her feelings. When Naruto and Yuki were alone, he decided to ask her about it. Yuki, do you really want to join this club? Naruto asked, trying to hide his worry. Yuki looked at him with slight surprise. Yes, I am indeed interested, she replied. I've always wanted to study Russian literature in more depth, and with Alya it will be even more exciting. But... She noticed Naruto's expression and added carefully, are you worried about something? Naruto thought about how best to express his feelings. It's just... He began, choosing his words carefully, I know that Alya is very smart and insightful. But I also know that she can be, not always friendly. I don't want her to somehow put you in an awkward position or, even worse, try to interfere with our relationship. Yuki smiled and took Naruto's hand. Naruto, I understand your concerns, she said softly. But I'm sure Alya and I have a good relationship. I don't think she'd want to do anything that would hurt us. And if I feel something is wrong, I'll tell you right away. These words calmed Naruto down a little, but a slight feeling of anxiety remained. Over the next few days, Yuki began to spend more time with Alya and her literature club. Naruto noticed that she was genuinely interested in her new activities, which made him happy. However, he soon began to notice that Alya was increasingly interfering in their conversations, and would even make snide remarks at times, which Yuki took seriously. One day, while Naruto and Yuki were discussing their plans for the weekend, Alya unexpectedly joined them. Are you planning to spend the weekend together again? She asked, her voice calm but with a hint of criticism in it. That's fine, but Yuki, don't you think it's a good idea to pay attention to other things sometimes? Like our club. We're planning to have a meeting on Saturday. Yuki felt a little embarrassed when she heard this. She didn't want to let the club down, but at the same time, she was planning on spending the weekend with Naruto. I don't know, Alya, Yuki answered, avoiding Naruto's gaze. Naruto and I were planning something for the weekend. Naruto felt a wave of discontent rise up inside him. He knew that Alya was deliberately putting Yuki in a difficult position, and it made him angry. Yuki has already agreed to spend the weekend with me, Naruto said, trying to sound calm but firm. I think it's her choice, not yours, Alya. Alya smiled, but there was no warmth in her smile. Of course, it's her choice, she said. But sometimes you need to think about the future, not just the present. Our club is not just entertainment, it's an opportunity to learn something new, to develop. Naruto didn't know what to answer, but he felt that his conversation with Yuki on this topic was not over yet. When they were alone, Naruto decided to discuss his feelings with Yuki. Yuki, he began, I don't want you to think that I'm against you being in the club. I'm just worried that Alya might try to influence you. Yuki nodded, understanding his concern. Naruto, I understand how you feel, she said softly. But I'm sure I can find a balance between our time and my interests. Alya may be strict, but I don't think she wants to hurt us. Naruto felt his anxiety not subside, but he decided to trust Yuki. The next day, Yuki decided to go to the club meeting after all. Naruto was left alone and all day he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. He didn't like the idea of Yuki spending time with Alya, knowing her personality and ability to manipulate people. When they met in the evening, Naruto immediately noticed that Yuki was a little tense. How did the meeting go? he asked, trying to hide his anxiety. It was interesting, Yuki answered, but her voice did not sound as confident as usual. We discussed several works of Russian literature. Alya asked a lot of questions, and sometimes it was difficult for me to answer. Naruto sensed that there was something hidden in Yuki's words, but he didn't insist on finding out the details. I'm glad you found something new for yourself, he said, trying to support her. However, over the next few days, tensions began to build between them. Alya continued to interfere with their conversations and time together, and Naruto began to feel that this was more than just friendly concern. One evening, while Naruto and Yuki were walking in the park, he decided to finally discuss his feelings. Yuki, I can't stay silent any longer, he began, stopping and turning to face her. I know you respect Alya, but I feel like she's trying to manipulate you and our relationship. It seems to me that she doesn't want us to be together. Yuki froze when she heard his words. She knew that Alya could be difficult and sometimes cruel, but she found it hard to believe that her friend would intentionally harm. Naruto, She began, but then trailed off, unsure of how to continue. She knew the situation was complicated, and that Naruto was genuinely worried about their relationship. I think you're right about something. Maybe I was too naive to think that everything would be easy. But I promise that if I feel like Alya is really trying to hurt us, I'll immediately move away from her. Naruto nodded, knowing that it wasn't a final decision, but still felt like they were moving in the right direction. Thank you, Yuki, he said quietly, taking her hand. I just want you to know how much you mean to me. And I'll fight for us no matter what. Yuki smiled and hugged Naruto. I will fight for us too, Naruto, she whispered. I love you, and no one can destroy what we have built together. Naruto felt relieved by these words. He knew that their relationship would now be tested in new ways, but he also knew that they were ready to face them together. Over the next week, Yuki became more careful with her interactions with Alya, trying not to let her friend exert too much influence on her decisions. She understood that her relationship with Naruto had become an important part of her life, and that it was worth protecting her space for. Naruto, in turn, felt that their conversation gave him new strength. He knew that now he and Yuki were on the same page and that they could overcome any difficulties together. This period became another test for them, showing that even the strongest relationships can have difficulties. But they knew that love and trust are the foundation that will help them get through any trials and come out of them even stronger. Chapter 11, The Influence of the Past. Months had passed since Naruto had entered the new world, finding not only a new life here, but also love. His relationship with Yuki had become strong, and every day spent with her brought joy and satisfaction. However, deep down, Naruto could not completely forget about his past life, the shinobi world, where he spent his best and worst years. Memories of Konoha, his friends, battles and missions still lived in his mind like shadows of the past. Sometimes at night, when Yuki was already asleep, Naruto would look at the ceiling and think about what would have happened if he had stayed in the shinobi world. These thoughts filled him with both the warmth of memories and the pain of loss. One day, as Naruto was walking home after a long day at school, he felt particularly strange. There had been no sign of anything different that day, but there was a restlessness growing inside him that he couldn't explain. His thoughts kept returning to the past, to what he had left behind when he came to this world. When he entered the house, Yuki was already there, preparing dinner. She greeted him with a warm smile, but Naruto felt like he couldn't return her joy as usual. Welcome home, Naruto, Yuki said, walking up to him and hugging him. You look tired. Is everything okay? Naruto hugged her back, but inside he was gnawed by doubts. Yeah, I'm fine, he said, trying to hide his feelings. Just a little tired. Yuki felt that something was wrong, but decided not to insist. She knew that if Naruto wanted, he would tell her himself about what was bothering him. The evening passed in a familiar setting, but Naruto could not fully concentrate on what was happening. His thoughts returned to the past, as if something or someone was trying to remind him of who he was. After dinner, when Yuki had already gone to bed, Naruto went outside to get some fresh air and try to sort out his feelings. He stood on the porch and looked at the starry sky, which reminded him of many nights spent in Konoha. Suddenly, he felt someone or something calling him. It was a strange, but persistent feeling that did not give him peace. He closed his eyes, trying to understand what it meant, and suddenly he heard a familiar voice in his mind. Naruto. The voice was quiet, but clear. Do you remember who you are? Naruto flinched, but then realized that the voice was inside him, as if someone was trying to penetrate his mind. He knew that this was not just a fantasy, but something more. Who is it? Naruto asked quietly, trying not to get scared. You know who I am, the voice replied. I am a part of you, a part of the past you left behind. But now it's time to remember who you were. Naruto felt his heart clench. He knew this wasn't a simple dream or vision. This was something connected to his past, to the world he had left behind. Why did you show up now? He asked, still not opening his eyes. Because you can't run from your past, Naruto, the voice replied. You are a shinobi, and it will always be a part of you. You must make a choice, return to your true nature, or stay here in this world. Naruto felt fear and doubt creeping up on him. He didn't want to choose. He had found happiness in this world, with Yuki, but he also knew that his calling as a shinobi couldn't be completely forgotten. I can't go back, he said quietly, feeling his voice tremble. I have a life here, a love. I don't want to lose it. But what if your friends, your village, need you? The voice insisted. You were their protector, their hero. Are you willing to give that up? These words made Naruto think. He knew that his friends in Konoha had always been important to him. But he also knew that he had another life now, and he couldn't just leave it like that. Naruto opened his eyes and looked up at the starry sky. He knew he had to make a decision, but it was one of the hardest decisions he had ever made. He felt torn between two worlds, two lives. Naruto? Yuki's voice suddenly rang out as she came out onto the porch to see where he was. Are you okay? Why are you here alone? Naruto turned to Yuki, his heart clenching with guilt. He didn't want to involve her in his internal conflicts, but he also knew that she deserved to know the truth. Yuki, he began, trying to collect his thoughts, I need to talk to you. Yuki sensed the worry in his voice and moved closer, taking his hand. Of course, Naruto, she said softly. What happened? Naruto looked into her eyes and his heart sank at what he was about to say. I know this may sound strange, but... He paused for a moment, unsure how to phrase his thoughts. Yuki, I had another life before I came here. In another world, where I was a shinobi, a ninja. There, I had friends, teachers, and I was an important part of my village. But when I came here, I thought I had left all that behind. Yuki looked at him in surprise, but didn't interrupt. She knew Naruto was telling her something important, and she needed to hear it until the end. Right now, I feel like my past is trying to get me back again, Naruto continued, his voice tense. I hear voices calling me back. I don't know what to do. I love you and I don't want to leave this world, but I also can't ignore who I was. Yuki was silent for a few moments, taking his words in. She knew Naruto had always been special, but she never thought his past would affect him so much. Naruto, she finally spoke, her voice full of understanding and love, I didn't know you had such a life. But I know one thing, you can always count on me to support you. I can't imagine what it's like to make such a choice, but I'll be there for you no matter what you decide. Naruto felt his eyes fill with tears of gratitude, knowing that Yuki truly cared about him and was willing to support him no matter what he chose. Thank you, Yuki, he said quietly, hugging her. I don't want to lose you. You've become a part of my life, and I can't imagine it without you. Yuki hugged Naruto tighter, feeling his body tremble with tension. We'll get through this together, she whispered. You're not alone. I'll be there for you, no matter what. Naruto felt his heart fill with warmth and confidence. He knew he had a difficult choice to make, but he also knew that Yuki would be there to support him. In the days that followed, Naruto thought more and more about his past and future. He tried to find answers to the questions that were bothering him. Should he return to the shinobi world to help his friends and the village, or should he stay here, in a new world where he had love and the opportunity to build a different life? One evening, after a long day of thinking, Naruto decided to visit a place that always helped him find answers to his most difficult questions, an old temple located on the outskirts of the city. The place was quiet and calm, surrounded by trees and flowers, and there he could focus on his thoughts. By the time he reached the temple, the night had fully come into its own. The stars were shining brightly in the sky, creating an atmosphere of mystery and peace around. Naruto entered the temple and sat on the floor, closing his eyes. He tried to concentrate to find answers within himself. In the silence of the temple he again heard the same voice that had called him before. Naruto. You have to make a choice, the voice sounded calm, but insistent. Naruto sighed, trying to find the strength to make this decision. I know, he answered quietly, feeling his heart squeeze with pain. You were a protector, the voice continued. Your friends and your village need you. Are you willing to leave them for a new life? Naruto thought about these words. He knew that his calling as a shinobi was an important part of his life, and that he always tried to protect those he loved. But now he had a new life, a new love. He couldn't just give that up. I was their protector, he said, trying to sort out his feelings. But now I have another life. I have found love and happiness here, and I can't just leave it like that. But what if your friends need you? The voice insisted. Are you willing to leave them in trouble? These words made Naruto think again. He knew that he was always ready to sacrifice himself for his friends and the village. But he also knew that this decision had to be weighed. I can't go back, he said finally, his voice shaking. But I also can't ignore who I was. I have to find a balance between the past and the present, between my duties and my feelings. The voice paused for a moment, as if considering his words. You must be sure of your decision, the voice finally said. Whatever you do, it will change your life forever. Naruto took a deep breath, feeling his heart beat faster. I know, he answered quietly. But I chose to stay here. I can't leave the people I love now. The voice no longer responded, and Naruto felt the tension inside him begin to subside. He knew he had made a difficult, but necessary decision. He knew the past would always be a part of him, but now he was ready to move forward, building a new life with Yuki. When he returned home, Yuki was already asleep. Naruto quietly entered the bedroom and sat next to her, looking at her calm face. He felt his heart fill with gratitude for having such support. I'm staying here, he whispered, stroking her hair. I chose you. These words brought him a sense of peace and confidence. He knew that he had made the right choice and was now ready to face the future with Yuki. Chapter 12, A New Path. Naruto had made his choice, but the shadows of his past had not completely disappeared. They remained with him, as a reminder of who he was and what he had left behind. However, despite this, he was determined to move forward and build his new life in this world, alongside Yuki. This choice gave him a new sense of confidence, but also the understanding that there might still be great challenges ahead. A week had passed since Naruto had made his decision to stay with Yuki. Life had returned to normal, school, time spent with Yuki, and the usual routine. However, Naruto noticed that something had changed in him. He now felt that his future in this world was clearer, but he also knew that he had to find his place in it. One evening, while he and Yuki were sitting in a cafe and discussing plans for the upcoming weekend, Naruto began to think about how he could use his skills and experience in this world. He knew that he was not just an ordinary student, and his background as a shinobi could be of use if he found the right way to use his abilities. "Yuki," he began, considering his words, "I've been thinking for a long time about what I could do in this world to make a difference. I can't just sit back and live an ordinary life. I need to find a way to use my skills and experience." Yuki, sipping her coffee, looked at Naruto with interest. "What do you mean, Naruto?" she asked, frowning slightly. "Are you saying that you're going to use your shinobi abilities here?" Naruto nodded, trying to explain his thoughts. "Yes, that's right," he replied. "I understand that the world here is different from the one I was in before. But I feel like my skills could be useful if I put them to the right use. Maybe I could help people or protect them, like I did in Konoha." Yuki thought for a few moments, then placed her cup on the table and looked at Naruto seriously. "Naruto, I understand that you can't just forget about your past and become an ordinary person," she began. "But I also want you to remember that this world is different. There are no wars and dangers here, like in the shinobi world. People live a quiet life here, and perhaps your skills can be useful in other, less dangerous areas." Naruto nodded, understanding her point. "I've thought about it, Yuki," he said, sighing slightly. "Perhaps I could use my skills for something more peaceful. Like teaching others, or protecting those in need. I just feel like I can't sit back and lead a normal life." Yuki smiled, understanding how important it was for Naruto to find his way. "I believe you will find your place, Naruto," she said, touching his hand. "You have always been a man of action, and I am sure you will be able to use your abilities for the good of this world." These words gave Naruto confidence. He knew that with Yuki's support, he could find his place in this world and use his abilities for the benefit of others. In the following days, Naruto began actively seeking out opportunities to use his skills. He noticed that there were people in this world who needed help, whether it was protection, training, or just support in times of need. He decided to start small, offering his help in areas where it was needed. Naruto's first step was to reach out to a local community that was involved in charity and social work. He met the project coordinator, a woman named Misaki, who was happy to accept his offer of help. "We're always happy to have new volunteers," Misaki said when they met at the organization's office. "We have a variety of programs you can take part in. For example, working with children from disadvantaged families, helping the elderly, or supporting those who find themselves in difficult life situations." Naruto felt that this job could be what he was looking for. He knew that not all of his abilities could be used here, but he also understood that even just helping people was an important step. "I'm willing to help with any of these programs," he said confidently. "I want to use my skills to help those in need." Misaki smiled when she saw his determination. "That's wonderful, Naruto," she replied. "We could start by working with children. They always need support and guidance, and your experience could be very useful to them." So Naruto began his work as a volunteer. He began spending time with children, helping them with their studies, organizing classes and outdoor training. For many of these children, Naruto became a true mentor and role model. He used his shinobi skills to teach the children discipline, responsibility, and self-control. Naruto found satisfaction in every day spent with the children. He saw them grow and develop, and it gave him a sense of meaning and purpose. He soon became an integral part of the local community, and his work was highly appreciated by both children and adults. However, Naruto knew that working with children was just the beginning. He wanted to do more and began to think about how he could use his skills in other areas. One day, while Naruto was working with children at the park, Yuki approached him, wanting to spend time with him. "Naruto, you do so much for others," she said, watching him help the children with their exercises. "I'm proud that you found your place here. But I can also see that you want to do even more. Naruto smiled when he heard her words. Yes, Yuki, he replied, looking at her with warmth. I want to use my skills to their full potential. I think I can do more for this world, and I don't want to stop there. Yuki thought for a moment, then suggested. Maybe you should think about opening your own school or center for children and teenagers. You could teach them not only physical skills, but also the values you preached as a shinobi: honesty, respect, responsibility. This idea sparked Naruto's interest. He knew that training was not only about passing on skills, but also about building character. He always wanted children to understand what it meant to be a real person, and that powers should only be used to protect and help others. That's a great idea, Yuki, he said, feeling a surge of inspiration. I think I can create something like that. It won't just be a martial arts school, but a place where children can develop and grow in a spirit of mutual help and respect. Yuki smiled when she saw his enthusiasm. I believe you can do it, Naruto, she said. And I will be here to help you along the way. With this in mind, Naruto began planning the creation of his own center. He began looking for a suitable location, consulting with other trainers and educators, and seeking support from the local community. His idea was met with enthusiasm, and he soon received support from several organizations willing to help him create this project. Months passed in intense work, but Naruto was determined. He devoted all his time and energy to creating a center that would be a place for children and adolescents to learn and grow in a safe and supportive environment. Eventually, the center was opened, and Naruto watched with pride as children and teenagers came here to learn, train, and grow. He knew it was just the beginning, but he was sure that his center would become an important part of many people's lives. Yuki, watching Naruto's success, was happy to see her beloved man find his place in this world. She knew that Naruto had always been a man of action, and now he was able to use his abilities and experience for the benefit of others. One evening, as they sat on the veranda of their house, Yuki looked at Naruto with a smile. Naruto, she began, I'm so proud of what you've done. You found your place in this world and created something that will benefit many people. Naruto hugged her, feeling his heart fill with warmth and love. I'm happy that I found my way, Yuki, he replied, looking at her with gratitude. But I couldn't have done it without you. You supported me and inspired me, and that gave me the strength to move forward. Yuki smiled, feeling her heart fill with happiness. We've been through a lot, Naruto, she said quietly. But now I know that we can overcome any difficulties together. They sat on the veranda, enjoying the evening peace, and Naruto knew that new horizons were opening up for him and Yuki. Their lives in this world were becoming more meaningful, and Naruto was ready for new challenges and opportunities. That night was a confirmation for them that they had made the right choice. Naruto knew that his past would always be a part of him, but now he was ready to move forward, building a new life and helping others find their path. Chapter 13, Resistance and Acceptance. Some time had passed since Naruto opened his center for children and adolescents, where he taught them not only physical skills, but also the values that had always been important to him as a shinobi: honesty, respect, and responsibility. The center became an important part of the local community, and many parents gratefully took their children there. However, as was often the case, not everyone liked the changes Naruto brought to their calm and familiar lives. Over time, Naruto and Yuki began to notice that not everyone in the community was happy about the new project. Some people felt that Naruto's center was drawing too much attention and was disrupting their normal routine. At first, this discontent was expressed through quiet gossip behind their backs, but soon grew into open resistance. The first warning sign came when several parents stopped bringing their children to the center. Naruto noticed that there were fewer of them in class, which worried him. He decided to find out why and spoke to one of the parents whose children had stopped attending. We've decided that our children won't be coming to your center anymore, the man said with a tense expression. We're not sure what you're teaching them is really necessary in their lives. After all, this isn't Konoha, where ninja are needed. Naruto felt his heart clench. He knew that his teaching methods might seem strange and unfamiliar to some, but he also knew that it helped the children develop. I understand your concerns, he replied, trying to sound calm. But I'm not teaching them to be ninjas. I'm teaching them discipline, responsibility, and respect for others. These are values that can help them in any situation. The man just shook his head. Perhaps, but many of us feel that it is not suitable for our children, he replied, looking away. We would prefer that they do something more normal and safe. Naruto felt a sense of helplessness creeping up on him. He couldn't force people to accept his methods and approach, but he also couldn't give up on what he believed was right. These words made him think about what he was doing and how it was perceived by others. He decided to discuss his feelings with Yuki, who had always been his support. As they sat in the kitchen eating dinner that evening, Naruto decided to share his thoughts. Yuki, he began, choosing his words carefully, I'm starting to doubt what I'm doing. Some parents have stopped taking their children to the center because they don't think my teaching methods are right for their lives. It makes me wonder if I'm on the right path. Yuki put her fork down and looked at Naruto with concern. Naruto, she said softly, I know it's hard for you to hear these things. But you've always followed your convictions and done what you thought was right. I believe that you're helping the children not only become stronger physically, but also developing important qualities in them that will serve them well in life. Naruto sighed, feeling tension creeping up on him. I know you're right, Yuki, he replied, looking at her with gratitude. But it's hard for me to see people reject what I'm trying to do. I want to help, but I don't know what to do without hurting anyone. Yuki took his hand and squeezed it lightly. Maybe you should talk to these people and find out what's really bothering them, she suggested. Maybe they don't understand what you're trying to do, and that's what's scaring them. You've always been good at getting along with others. Maybe you could try explaining your position to them. These words gave Naruto new hope. He realized that he had to try to find a compromise and show people that his intentions were pure and for the good of the children and society. Over the next few days, Naruto began to actively engage with the parents who were expressing their dissatisfaction. He organized several meetings where he explained his goals and methods, detailing how his approaches help children develop important skills and qualities. Some parents listened to his words and decided to give Naruto Center another chance. However, there were those who remained unconvinced. They believed that Naruto's methods were too radical and that children would be better off doing something more traditional. This resistance did not go away, and over time Naruto began to receive reports that some people in the community were organizing a campaign against his center. These were small but unpleasant incidents, ranging from negative comments on social media to open complaints about noise or violated expectations. Naruto knew this could be a serious problem and decided to discuss the situation with Misaki, the local community coordinator who had supported his project from the beginning. Misaki, Naruto began when they met in her office, I see that my center is causing some people to be upset. I'm trying to figure out what I can do to ease the tension, but it doesn't seem to be easy. Misaki looked at him with sympathy. Naruto, I know you put your heart and soul into this project, she said softly. And many of us see the benefits it brings to children. But, unfortunately, not everyone is ready for change. People are often afraid of what they do not understand or what is different from what they are used to. You are doing an important thing, but perhaps you should think about how to make it more accessible and understandable for everyone. These words made Naruto think. He realized that perhaps he needed to change his approach in order to gain the trust of those who still doubted his methods. Back home, Naruto discussed his thoughts with Yuki again. I think Misaki is right, he said as they sat on the living room couch. I need to find a way to make my center more accessible and understandable to people. Maybe I should offer more traditional classes, or have open classes so parents can see what we do. Yuki nodded in support. That's a good idea, Naruto, she said with a smile. You can show people that your methods aren't dangerous, but rather help children develop and become better. The main thing is to let them know that your center is a place where their children can find support and understanding. With these new ideas, Naruto began planning changes to his center. He decided to organize an open day where parents could come and see how classes are run, talk to the coaches and teachers, ask questions and get answers. When the day of the event arrived, Naruto felt a little nervous. He knew that this was an important moment for his center and for his relationship with the local community. Yuki, as always, was there to support him. It's going to be okay, Naruto, she said, hugging him before the event began. You're doing this with good intentions, and people will see that. The event began with a welcome and a short speech from Naruto, in which he explained his goals and principles. Then parents were able to watch the classes, talk to the children and coaches, and ask questions. Some parents who were initially skeptical saw that Naruto's center was really beneficial to their children. They became more interested and asked questions about how the classes could help their children develop. By the end of the day, Naruto felt the tension begin to ease. People began to understand his goals and methods better, and this gave him hope that the resistance from the community would gradually decrease. However, despite the success of the event, not all parents were willing to change their minds. Several people still believed that Naruto's center was not suitable for their children and continued to express their dissatisfaction. This was difficult for Naruto, but he knew that he could not please everyone. One evening, after a long day of work, Naruto and Yuki decided to take a walk around the city to relax and discuss the latest events. Naruto, Yuki began as they walked down a quiet street. I see how hard you try, and it inspires me. But I also see that things aren't going as smoothly as you'd like. How are you feeling? Naruto sighed, feeling his heart clench at the thought of the difficulties. To be honest, Yuki, I feel tired, he admitted, looking at her with gratitude for her concern. I thought I could easily gain people's trust, but it turned out that it was much more difficult than I expected. I know that I'm doing the right things, but sometimes it feels like it's not enough. Yuki stopped and turned to Naruto, taking his hands. Naruto, you've always been a fighter, she said softly. And I know you can handle this. But it's important to remember that you're not alone. I'll always be there, and together we can overcome any challenge. These words filled Naruto with new strength. He knew that despite all the difficulties and resistance, he had Yuki's support, and this gave him the strength to continue moving forward. Thank you, Yuki, he said quietly, hugging her. You always help me see the light at the end of the tunnel. I will continue to fight for what I believe is right, and I'm glad you're here. They continued their walk, enjoying the peace and quiet. Naruto knew that there were still many challenges ahead, but he was now ready to face them with confidence and Yuki's support. In the following weeks, Naruto continued to develop his center, listening to feedback and comments from parents. He tried to find a balance between his principles and people's expectations in order to make the center even more accessible and useful for everyone. Over time, the resistance from the community began to diminish. More and more parents began to understand that Naruto really wanted to help their children, and they began to actively support his center. Naruto felt that he was gradually gaining people's trust, and this gave him new strength. However, despite his success, Naruto knew that not everyone would be happy with his methods and approach. He learned to accept this as a part of life and focus on those who believed in his ideas and supported him. One evening, as Naruto and Yuki sat on the veranda of their house and enjoyed the sunset, Naruto thought about what they had been through together. He realized that their love had become even stronger because of all the trials they had overcome. Yuki, he began, looking at her tenderly, I've been thinking about how much we've been through together. All these hardships have made us stronger, and I'm grateful that you were always there for me. Yuki smiled and kissed him tenderly on the cheek. I thought about that too, Naruto, she replied, looking at the sunset. We've been through a lot, but it's only made our bond stronger. I know there are still many trials ahead, but I'm sure we can overcome them together. Naruto felt his heart fill with warmth and confidence. He knew that their love and support for each other was the main thing that would help them overcome any difficulties. That night became another important moment in their relationship. They learned to cope with resistance and accept the world as it is, while maintaining their love and devotion to each other. Naruto knew that there were still many challenges ahead of them, but he was now confident that they could overcome them together, supporting and inspiring each other every step of their journey together. Chapter 14, An Evening Walk in the Park. Several weeks had passed since Naruto and Yuki had overcome their difficulties and had begun to restore trust and harmony in their community. Their relationship had grown even stronger, and each day spent together filled their hearts with joy and peace. One warm summer evening, Naruto and Yuki decided to spend some time together by going for a walk in the park. It was one of their favorite parks, quiet, secluded, surrounded by thick trees, where they could hide from the bustle of the city and enjoy each other's company. They walked along the path, holding each other's hands, and talked about everything that was happening in their lives. The setting sun's rays illuminated their faces, creating an atmosphere of romance and peace around them. "I'm so glad we found time for this walk," Yuki said, looking at Naruto with a smile. "This place has always helped me relax and forget about all my problems." Naruto squeezed her hand lightly, feeling the warmth of her touch. "Me too, Yuki," he replied, enjoying the moment. "Sometimes it's so important to just be together and enjoy the silence. It helps remind me how much our love means to me." They continued walking, enjoying the light breeze that brought with it the scent of flowers and the freshness of the forest. The park was almost empty, and this gave their walk even more coziness and intimacy. Finally, they came to a small clearing surrounded by trees. In this clearing, there was a bench that offered a beautiful view of the lake, reflecting the sky, which gradually darkened, turning shades of pink and purple. Yuki stopped and turned to Naruto, her eyes shining with happiness. "It's so beautiful here," she said, looking at the lake with admiration. "I've always loved this place." Naruto nodded, agreeing with her. He noticed how the soft light of the moon began to illuminate their faces, creating an atmosphere of magic around them. He knew that this moment was special, and he wanted to keep it in his memory forever. They sat down on the bench and Yuki snuggled up to Naruto, resting her head on his shoulder. Her hair gently brushed his cheek and Naruto felt his heart fill with tenderness. He hugged her, feeling their closeness grow even stronger. "Yuki," he began, his voice quiet but full of emotion, "I'm so happy that you're by my side. You've become everything to me, and I can't imagine my life without you." Yuki raised her head and looked at him, her eyes shining with love. "Me too, Naruto," she replied, her voice shaking with emotion. "You gave me what I always wanted, love, support, and confidence in the future. I've never been happier than I am with you." Naruto felt his heart fill with joy at her words. He knew that the feelings were mutual and that their love was growing stronger with each passing day. They looked at each other and Naruto felt a special connection between them that didn't require words. At that moment, their hearts beat in unison and they knew that this moment was just for the two of them. Yuki leaned closer and Naruto felt her breath on his face. He slowly leaned forward and their lips met in a gentle kiss. It wasn't just a kiss, but an expression of all the feelings they had for each other. Naruto felt his heart fill with warmth and the world around them seemed to disappear, leaving only the two of them. The kiss was slow and deep, filled with tenderness and passion, but still pure and sincere. Yuki trembled slightly in his arms, and Naruto realized that their intimacy had reached a new level, where every touch became an expression of love and trust. As their lips parted, Yuki looked at Naruto, her face slightly red from embarrassment, but happiness was visible in her eyes. "Naruto," she whispered, her voice quiet and full of emotion, "I want this moment to last forever." Naruto smiled, touching her cheek. Me too, Yuki, he replied, feeling his heart overflow with happiness. I want us to always be together, supporting each other and loving each other like we do now. Yuki snuggled closer to him, and Naruto felt her body tremble gently in his arms. He hugged her, trying to convey all his love and care through this touch. They sat like that, enjoying the silence and closeness of each other, while the night gradually enveloped the park in its tranquility. Time seemed to stand still, and Naruto knew that this moment would forever be etched in his memory as one of the happiest in his life. He knew that their feelings had reached a new level, and that they were now connected by an unbreakable thread that would grow stronger with each passing day. Yuki sighed softly, her face pressed against his chest, and Naruto felt her breathing become even and calm. He knew that she felt safe around him, and it filled his heart with joy and contentment. Naruto, Yuki suddenly spoke, her voice barely audible, but full of tenderness, you have become everything to me. I never thought I could find someone with whom I would be so happy. Naruto leaned down and kissed her forehead. I'm happy I found you, Yuki, he replied, feeling his heart skip a beat. You've changed my life, and I'll always love you. They sat on the bench for a long time, enjoying the warmth of their embrace and the silence of the park. Time seemed to stop, and the world around them seemed to disappear, leaving only the two of them in this magical moment. When the night had completely engulfed the park, Naruto and Yuki decided to return home. They walked along the same path they had come from, holding hands, enjoying every second they spent together. As they approached Yuki's house, Naruto stopped and looked at her, his heart filled with feelings. Yuki, he said, looking into her eyes, I want you to know that I will always be here for you. No matter what happens, I will love you and protect you. Yuki smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. I will always be with you too, Naruto, she replied, her voice full of love. We can overcome anything that comes our way because we have each other. They kissed again, and this kiss was as tender and loving as the first one. Naruto felt their hearts beating in unison, and he knew that their love would be the foundation for their future life together. When they finally said goodbye, Naruto went home, his heart light and filled with joy. He knew that their love had grown even stronger, and he was ready to move forward, facing new challenges and enjoying every moment he spent with Yuki. Chapter 15, A New Challenge. The quiet days filled with joy and love gradually became a routine, and Naruto and Yuki enjoyed every moment they spent together. However, life rarely allows for complete relaxation, and they soon faced a new challenge that threatened their happiness. One morning, as Naruto and Yuki were walking to school, they noticed something unusual happening around them. The people on the street seemed tense, and there was an uneasy feeling in the air. Naruto, who had a keen sense of danger, immediately realized that something was wrong. Yuki, did you notice what was happening? He asked, frowning. Yuki nodded, her face serious. Yes, Naruto, she replied, looking around. Something's changed. People look worried. As they approached the school, Naruto noticed that there was a crowd of students gathered on the school grounds. They were all excited and discussing something among themselves. Naruto and Yuki decided to go closer to see what was going on. In the center of the crowd stood a tall guy with a cold gaze and a smirk on his face. His name was Hayato, and he was one of those students who always kept to himself and rarely interacted with others. Naruto immediately felt that Hayato was a threat. What's going on here? Naruto asked one of the students quietly. Hayato, the student replied, not taking his eyes off the boy in the center, he's started his antics again. He says he's going to destroy anyone who dares to cross him. We don't know what to do. Naruto felt a sense of unease building up inside him. He realized that Hayato could pose a serious threat to everyone, including Yuki. He knew that he had to act to protect her and the others. Yuki, Naruto said quietly, turning to her, stay close. I sense that Hayato might be dangerous. Yuki nodded, her eyes shining with worry. I understand, Naruto, she replied. But what are you going to do? Naruto glanced at Hayato, who continued to look at everyone around him with disdain. He knew that this guy was not acting like this for no reason. He might have his reasons for doing this, but right now, the most important thing was to stop him before he hurt anyone. I'll try to talk to him, Naruto said, clenching his fists. But if he doesn't listen, I'll have to use other methods. Naruto walked towards Hayato, making his way through the crowd. Yuki stayed behind, but her gaze followed Naruto, full of excitement and anxiety. Hayato! Naruto called out loudly, coming closer. What are you up to here? Hayato slowly turned his head, his eyes narrowing when he saw Naruto. Well, here you are, a hero, he said mockingly. What, have you decided to protect all these weaklings? Naruto looked at Hayato carefully, trying to understand his motives. I don't know what makes you act like this, Hayato, he said, trying to sound calm but firm. But that's no reason to threaten others. Let's talk and find a solution. Hayato smirked, his eyes shining with disdain. Talk? To you? His voice was full of sarcasm. You have no idea what I've been through. All these worthless people around me do is judge and despise me. I'm tired of it. Naruto felt his heart clench at Hayato's words. He knew that the guy was in pain, but his methods were wrong. Hayato, I understand that this is hard for you, Naruto began, taking a step forward. But violence and threats will not solve your problems. There are other ways to cope with pain. I have been through a lot, and I can help you. Hayato paused for a moment, as if pondering Naruto's words, but then his face distorted with anger. You don't understand anything, he shouted, his voice full of rage. None of you understand what I've been through. You all think you're better than me, but I'll prove you wrong. At that moment, Naruto realized that words wouldn't help anymore. Hayato was consumed by his pain and anger, and he wasn't going to stop. If you won't listen, Naruto said quietly, his voice growing firmer, then I'll have to stop you. I won't let you hurt anyone else. Hayato laughed, but there was anger in his laughter. Are you going to stop me? He asked mockingly. Go ahead, try it. Naruto knew that Hayato could be dangerous, but he also knew that he had to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. He took a stance, ready for a possible confrontation, but still hoping that it could be avoided. Hayato took a step forward, his eyes blazing with rage, but Naruto was ready. He knew he had to be careful and not give Hayato the chance to hurt himself or anyone else. Hayato, Naruto said, trying one last time to reach his mind, stop. You're making a mistake. There are other ways to deal with pain. But Hayato didn't listen. His rage was stronger than common sense. He rushed forward, intending to strike, but Naruto was ready. He dodged the attack and deftly grabbed Hayato's arm, twisting it behind his back. Stop, Hayato. Naruto ordered loudly, holding him back. But Hayato only growled and tried to break free, his eyes burning with rage and pain. At that moment, the crowd around them started to whisper. Some students tried to come closer, but Naruto gave them a warning look. Stay where you are, he said sternly. It's dangerous. Yuki, who was watching this, felt her heart beat faster. She knew Naruto was strong, but she was afraid for him. She couldn't let anything happen to him. Naruto, please be careful. She shouted, hoping he would hear her. Naruto heard her voice and felt his heart fill with determination. He knew that he had to protect Yuki and everyone else, and to do that, he had to act quickly and decisively. Hayato, this is the last time I ask you to stop, Naruto said, his voice firm and determined. You choose your own path. But remember, every choice comes with a price. But Hayato was too consumed by his pain and anger to listen. He tried to break free again and strike, but Naruto was faster. He deftly twisted Hayato and held him on the ground so that he could not move. "Let me go, you bastard!" Hayato shouted, but his voice sounded less confident. Naruto leaned towards him and said quietly but firmly, "I won't let you hurt yourself or others. You must learn to cope with pain, not destroy everything around you." Hayato went silent, his breathing became heavy, and Naruto felt his resistance begin to weaken. Perhaps he finally realized that his path was wrong. The crowd of students around him began to disperse, realizing that the conflict had been averted. Naruto slowly released Hayato, making sure that he was no longer a threat. Hayato, without looking up, slowly rose to his feet, but his rage had subsided, leaving only a feeling of defeat and devastation. "You don't understand," Hayato whispered, his voice full of pain. "No one understands." Naruto looked at him carefully and, feeling sympathy awakening in his heart, he quietly replied, "You're right, I can't fully understand what you've been through. But I know one thing, you always have a choice. You can destroy or you can build. And I hope you choose the second path." Hayato didn't answer, but there was something in his eyes that made Naruto think. Maybe this guy wasn't completely lost to society, and he just needed time to find himself. Naruto let go of Hayato and he slowly backed away without saying another word. He turned and walked away, leaving Naruto and Yuki standing on the school playground. Yuki ran up to Naruto and hugged him tightly, feeling her heart slowly calm down. "I was so worried about you, Naruto," she said quietly, her voice shaking with emotion. "Thank you for stopping him." Naruto hugged her back, feeling his own heart fill with warmth and gratitude that everything had ended well. "I will always protect you, Yuki," he whispered, feeling her closeness bring him peace. "And I will not let anyone ruin our happiness." Yuki looked into his eyes, her face full of gratitude and love. "I know, Naruto," she replied quietly. "And I believe that together we can overcome any difficulties." They stood on the platform, surrounded by the evening light, and Naruto knew that their love and support for each other would be the main force that would help them overcome all the trials. A new challenge had been met and overcome, and now they were ready to move on, together, despite all the obstacles. Chapter 16, The Fight for Love. After the encounter with Hayato, the tension around Naruto and Yuki did not disappear. Even though Naruto was able to prevent the conflict, there was still a threat in the air. Their love had become the object of envy and resentment among some people who did not understand or accept that their feelings could be so strong. Naruto felt that a new trial was coming soon, and he had to be ready for it. The days following the incident with Hayato were spent on the edge of calm and anxiety. Naruto continued to develop his center, but noticed that rumors and gossip had begun to spread among the community. Some of them concerned his relationship with Yuki, others concerned the teaching methods of his center. He knew that gaining the trust of the community was not an easy path, but he did not expect that the resistance would be so stubborn. One evening, when Naruto and Yuki were walking home after a walk around the city, they noticed that someone was following them. Naruto immediately sensed it with his heightened sense of danger, but he didn't want to scare Yuki, so he decided to keep it a secret. "Yuki, how are you feeling?" he asked, trying to speak calmly to distract her attention from the possible danger. Yuki smiled, unaware of his concern. "It's okay, Naruto," she replied, looking at him with warmth. "I'm glad we can spend this evening together. But I sense that you're worried about something. What happened?" Naruto squeezed her hand lightly, trying to convey confidence to her. "Nothing serious," he said, looking at her with a smile. "I'm just a little tired lately. But everything will be fine." Yuki looked at Naruto carefully, but decided not to insist, knowing that he always shared with her when he felt it was necessary. They continued on their way, but Naruto couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. He decided to be on guard and prepared himself for any possible development. As they approached their home, Naruto suddenly felt a sudden movement behind him. He quickly turned around and noticed a shadow disappearing around the corner. At that moment, his instincts kicked in and he realized that someone was indeed trying to get too close to them. "Yuki, come into the house," he said quietly but firmly, looking at her. "I need to check something." Yuki looked at him with concern. But seeing the seriousness in his eyes, she nodded and headed towards the door. She knew that Naruto was always ready to protect her, but she still couldn't help but feel afraid for him. Naruto waited until Yuki entered the house and quickly headed towards the direction where he had noticed the shadow. His movements were fast and precise, like a true shinobi. He had already gotten used to a world where violence was not the norm, but his past always reminded him of itself in such moments. As he approached the corner, the shadow moved again, but Naruto was ready. He instantly rushed forward, grabbing the unknown man's arm and pinning him against the wall. "Who are you and what do you want?" he asked, his voice cold and determined. The shadow, who turned out to be a teenager around 16 years old, looked at Naruto with fear, but tried to hide his emotions. I didn't want to do anything," he squeezed out, clearly nervous. Naruto looked the boy over carefully, trying to figure out what he was doing there. He didn't think the teenager was a serious threat, but his presence couldn't be a coincidence. "Who sent you?" Naruto asked, continuing to hold the guy. "No one," the guy hesitated, but then quickly added, "I was sent to find out where you live." "I didn't mean anything bad, honestly." Naruto frowned. He knew there was someone more serious than this teenager behind this, but he couldn't figure out who. Who sent you?" Naruto insisted, feeling like he was getting closer to the answer. "I don't know his name," the guy answered nervously. "He just gave me money and told me to find out where you live and who you are." Naruto let go of the guy, but did not lose his vigilance. "Go away and don't come back here again," he said coldly. "If I see you again, you'll regret it." The boy nodded and ran away without wasting any time. Naruto stood there, thinking about the situation. Someone was trying to find out about him and Yuki, and it couldn't help but worry him. Back home, Naruto told Yuki what had happened. She listened attentively, her face becoming more and more serious. "Naruto, what could this mean?" she asked, her voice shaking with worry. Naruto sighed, trying to stay calm. "I don't know exactly," he admitted. "But it's clearly not just a casual interest. Someone wants to know more about us, and that doesn't bode well." Yuki looked at Naruto, her eyes full of worry. "I'm scared, Naruto," she said quietly. "I'm scared that someone really wants to hurt us." Naruto hugged her, trying to convey his confidence and determination to her. "I won't let anyone hurt you, Yuki," he said firmly. "We'll get through this. But we have to be careful." Yuki nodded, clinging to him. "I trust you, Naruto," she said. "And I know that you will always protect me." The next few days were tense. Naruto and Yuki tried to keep a low profile, but Naruto was on guard the entire time. He knew this could only be the beginning, and he couldn't afford to relax. It soon became clear that their fears were not unfounded. One evening, as Naruto was returning home from work at the center, he noticed that he was being followed again. This time, it was not teenagers, but adult men who were clearly not locals. Naruto didn't hide his reaction. He decided to act directly. Approaching the nearest corner, he suddenly turned around it and, hiding in the shadows, began to wait for his pursuers to come closer. The men didn't notice his maneuver and continued walking straight ahead. When they got close enough, Naruto came around the corner with lightning speed and intercepted one of them, pinning him against the wall. "Who are you and what do you want?" he asked, his voice full of determination. The second man quickly pulled out a knife, but Naruto was ready for it. He deftly dodged the blow and knocked the knife out of his opponent's hand, then quickly disarmed him by pinning him to the ground. Speak! Naruto demanded, his voice becoming even more stern. One of the men looked at Naruto with a smirk. You're too much of a meddler, boy, he said, his voice threatening. You think you can protect her? You're wrong. Naruto felt his anger begin to boil. He didn't understand who these people were or what they were trying to achieve, but he knew he couldn't let them hurt Yuki. Who sent you? Naruto asked again, clenching his fists. You'll find out soon enough, the second man replied, grinning. But don't expect to be able to stop us. Naruto realized that he wouldn't get any more information from them. He quickly tied up the men and left them where they were, knowing that they would soon disappear once they realized he was gone. He wasn't going to get into any unnecessary fights, but he was ready to defend himself and Yuki if necessary. When he returned home, Yuki was waiting for him anxiously. Naruto, what happened? She asked, noticing him entering the house, his face tense. Naruto told her everything that happened and Yuki felt her heart squeeze with fear. It's getting too dangerous, she said quietly, her eyes shining with tears. I'm afraid for us, Naruto. Naruto walked up to her and hugged her, trying to calm her down. I know, Yuki, he said softly. But I'll do everything I can to protect you. We'll get through this, just like we've gotten through everything before. Yuki nodded, but her anxiety did not subside. Naruto, maybe we should leave for a while, she suggested. Just to throw them off and give us time to think. Naruto thought about her words. He knew that it might be a good idea, but he also knew that running away wouldn't solve the problem. He had to find a way to stop whoever was hunting them. You may be right, Yuki, he said, finally making a decision. We can leave town for a while until I figure out who's behind this. But I promise I'll be back as soon as I figure it out. Yuki nodded, agreeing with his plan. She knew Naruto wouldn't stop until he protected them, and she was willing to support him in that. In the following days, Naruto began preparing for his departure. He contacted several people he knew to obtain information about those who might have been involved in the attack. His suspicions were confirmed. A new group had appeared in the city, looking for influential people to use for their own purposes. Naruto realized that they were trying to get to him through Yuki, and this made him even more determined. He knew that he had to eliminate the threat to protect them both. Finally, the day of departure arrived. Naruto and Yuki gathered the necessary things and went to a small house in the mountains that belonged to Naruto's friend. The place was secluded and difficult to access, which gave them time to think about their next steps. At first, they enjoyed the peace and quiet, spending their days in nature and discussing what would happen next. However, Naruto did not forget his promise. He constantly kept in touch with those who helped him find out who was behind the attacks. A few days passed and Naruto received word that the group's leaders were in the city preparing for another attack. He knew he couldn't wait any longer. Yuki, he said one evening as they sat by the fire enjoying the warmth, I have to go back to town and deal with this. I can't stand on the sidelines any longer. Yuki looked at him, her eyes full of worry, but she knew Naruto wouldn't stop. I know you have to do this, she said quietly. But please be careful. I don't want to lose you. Naruto leaned down and kissed her forehead, trying to convey his love and confidence to her. I promise I'll come back, he said firmly. And we'll finally be able to live in peace. Yuki nodded, holding back tears. She knew Naruto always kept his promises, but she was still afraid for him. The next day Naruto went to the city. He knew it would be a tough fight, but he was ready to do anything to protect Yuki and their love. When he arrived in the city, he was met by his acquaintances who provided him with all the information he needed. Naruto found out where the group's headquarters were and decided to act quickly to prevent another attack. Night had already completely engulfed the city when Naruto reached the place. It was an old abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city, where, according to his information, the leader of the group was located. Naruto moved carefully to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. He knew there might be armed men inside and he didn't want to risk it if he could avoid it. He made his way inside, moving silently like a shadow. The warehouse was silent, but Naruto sensed that someone was there. He moved forward cautiously until he heard voices coming from the next room. Naruto walked closer and peered through the crack in the door. There he saw several men sitting at a table, discussing something. One of them was a large man with a stern face, who seemed to be the leader of the group. "We must finish what we started," the leader said, his voice rough and commanding. "This boy and his girl must not interfere with our plans. Find them and end this." Naruto realized that there was no more time to think. He had to act right now. Gathering all his resolve, Naruto rushed into the room, attacking swiftly. He was as fast and precise as lightning. Soon, all the people in the room were incapacitated, and the leader was left standing alone with Naruto. "You made a mistake," Naruto said, his voice cold. "You shouldn't have touched us." The leader looked at him with disdain. "You think you can stop me?" he sneered. "I've seen your kind dozens of times. You're just another hero who thinks he can change the world. But this world belongs to people like me." Naruto didn't answer. He knew words wouldn't help. The fight had begun, and Naruto was ready. The leader was a strong opponent, but Naruto was determined to protect Yuki and their future. The fight was fierce, but in the end Naruto emerged victorious. The leader was defeated and the threat to Naruto and Yuki was eliminated. When it was all over, Naruto felt his strength begin to fade. He knew he had done everything he could to protect those he loved. Returning to the mountain house, Naruto was greeted by Yuki, who rushed towards him, hugging him tightly. "You're back," she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. Naruto hugged her back, feeling his heart fill with warmth and joy. "I'm back, Yuki," he said, looking into her eyes. "And now we can live in peace. It's all over." Yuki smiled through her tears, her heart filling with relief. "I knew you could do it, Naruto," she said, snuggling close to him. "Now we can be happy together." They stood at the threshold of their home, surrounded by silence and calm, and Naruto knew that their love had won. They had been through many trials, but now they could enjoy their happiness and build their future together. Chapter 17, Making Peace with the Past. Several days had passed since Naruto had finally put an end to the threat that had been hanging over his and Yuki's happiness. Now that all the dangers were behind them, they could enjoy the long-awaited peace and warmth of each other. But despite the apparent harmony, doubts and memories still remained in Naruto's soul, which from time to time brought him back to thoughts of the past. Naruto's life had changed dramatically since he came to this world. He left behind everything he knew and loved about Konoha, his friends, his mentors, his mission as the village's protector. Here, in this new world, he found new love, peace, and felt he could build a different, peaceful life. But no matter how hard he tried, the past would not let him go completely. One warm summer evening, as the sun began to set, filling the sky with soft gold and pink hues, Naruto and Yuki decided to spend time outside, enjoying the peace and quiet of nature. They walked along a path that led to their favorite clearing, where they often spent time together, talking and sharing their thoughts. "Today was a wonderful day," Yuki said, looking at Naruto with a smile. "I'm so glad we can just be together and enjoy these moments." Naruto nodded, but his mind was elsewhere. Yuki immediately noticed that he was preoccupied with something, and her smile faded slightly. "Naruto," she began, her voice full of concern, "what's bothering you? I can see that you're thinking about something. Please tell me." Naruto stopped and looked at the sunset sky, his face focused. "Yuki, he began, trying to find the right words. "I've been thinking about my past life, about Konoha, and what I left behind. Since I came here, I've found a new home, a new love, but I still can't forget about those I left behind. It's like a part of me still belongs to that world." Yuki came closer and took his hand, her gaze full of understanding and sympathy. "Naruto, I understand that it's hard for you to come to terms with the past," she said quietly. "But you have to remember that you have a new life here. You found me, and I'm grateful for every moment we spend together. But I also understand that you need time to sort out your feelings." Naruto looked into her eyes, and his heart filled with warmth from her words. He knew that Yuki had always been there, supporting him and helping him cope with difficulties. But still, he felt that he had to finally sort out his feelings and decide where his true place was. "Yuki, you've always been my rock," he said, his voice full of gratitude. "I don't know what I'd do without you. But I need to figure out what's going on inside me. I need to figure out if I can leave my past behind and fully commit to this life." Yuki nodded, understanding that this was an important moment for Naruto. She knew she couldn't force him to make a choice, but she could support him along the way. "I believe you will find the answer, Naruto," she said softly. "And I will be there for you no matter what you decide." These words gave Naruto confidence. He knew that Yuki would always be with him, but he knew that he needed time to finally make a decision. Over the next few days, Naruto began to spend more time alone, reflecting on his past and future. He often returned to thoughts of Konoha, remembering his friends, his battles, and everything that made him who he was. These memories were filled with both joy and pain, and Naruto knew he needed to find a way to come to terms with them in order to move on. One morning, while Yuki was still asleep, Naruto decided to go for a walk to gather his thoughts. He chose a path that led to an abandoned temple on the edge of the forest. This place had always been a source of peace for him and an opportunity to think about the most important things. As he approached the temple, the morning light softly illuminated the walls, creating an atmosphere of peace and tranquility around him. Naruto sat down on the steps and closed his eyes, letting his thoughts flow freely. He remembered his first days in Konoha, how he was a lonely child yearning for acceptance and love. He remembered how he made friends who became his family, how he learned to be a shinobi and protect those dear to him. These memories filled his heart with warmth, but also brought with them a sense of loss. "I was a protector," Naruto whispered quietly to himself. "I made a promise to protect those I care about and to bring light to this world. But can I leave that behind and start a new life here?" At that moment, Yuki's image appeared before his eyes, her warm smile, her kindness, and the love she gave him every day. He realized that he had found what he had always dreamed of, a family, a home and love. "I have found here what I have been searching for all my life," he continued, his voice full of determination. "But can I leave my past and devote myself entirely to this life?" Naruto knew that the answer to that question lay deep within him. He had to find a way to come to terms with the past in order to live in the present and build a future. He spent several hours in the temple, lost in his thoughts, and finally realized what he had to do. He knew that his place was here now, with Yuki, and that he was ready to leave his past behind, keeping it in his heart as an important part of his life. When Naruto returned home, Yuki was already awake and eagerly awaiting his return. She immediately noticed that there was a new confidence in his eyes, and her heart was filled with joy. "Naruto," she began, looking at him with a smile, "you look like you found the answer to your questions." Naruto walked up to her and took her hands, his heart full of love and gratitude. "Yuki," he said quietly, looking into her eyes, "I've made a decision. My place is here now, with you. I've realized that my past will always be a part of me. But I'm ready to leave it behind and dedicate myself to this life." Yuki smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. "Naruto, I'm so glad you found your way," she said, her voice full of tenderness. "I always believed you would make the right choice. Now we can build our future together." Naruto felt his heart fill with warmth and peace. He knew that he had made the right decision and that now he and Yuki could live happily ever after without looking back at the past. Over the next few days, Naruto felt his inner tension begin to fade. He no longer felt torn between two worlds, and his heart finally found peace. He realized that his place was truly here, in this world, where he could live peacefully and happily with Yuki. One evening, as they sat on the veranda enjoying the sunset, Naruto decided to share his thoughts with Yuki. "You know, Yuki," he began, looking up at the sky, which was painted in soft shades of pink and gold, "I've thought for a long time about what Konoha and everything I left behind meant to me. It was an important part of my life, and I can never forget it. But now I realize that my present and future are here, with you." Yuki listened to him attentively, her face glowing with happiness. "I always knew your past was important to you, Naruto," she said softly. "But I also believed that you would find a way to come to terms with it and start a new life here. I'm glad you took that step." Naruto smiled, feeling his heart fill with joy at her words. "I realize that you don't have to completely forget about the past to live in the present," he continued. "It's important to accept it, make it a part of you, but not let it rule your life. I'm ready to move forward and build our life together without looking back." Yuki nodded, understanding how important this decision was for Naruto. "We can get through anything that comes our way together," she said, clinging to him. "I know our love will be the foundation for everything we build." They sat on the veranda, enjoying the silence and each other's closeness. Naruto knew that his journey to come to terms with the past was complete, and now he was ready to move forward, with Yuki. In the following weeks, Naruto and Yuki continued to live their normal lives, but now their relationship had become even stronger and deeper. They no longer felt like anything was threatening their happiness, and they could focus on building their future. Naruto continued to work at his center, teaching children and teenagers not only martial arts, but also important life values. He felt that he had found his purpose in this world and that his experience as a shinobi was helping him in this. Yuki, in turn, supported Naruto in everything he did. She helped him with the work of the center, interacted with the children and parents, trying to create a warm and supportive atmosphere for everyone. They worked together, and this strengthened their bond even more. One day, when they were walking home from work, Yuki stopped and looked at Naruto. Her face was serious, but at the same time filled with tenderness. "Naruto," she began, looking into his eyes, "I want to tell you that I am proud of who you have become. You have found your path and continue to walk it with dignity and honor. I am happy that I can be by your side." Naruto felt his heart fill with warmth at her words, knowing that their love had become a source of strength and confidence for him. "Yuki, I'm happy that you're by my side," he replied, his voice full of sincerity. "You've given me what I've always dreamed of, and I promise that I'll always love and protect you." Yuki smiled and hugged him, feeling their hearts beat in unison. "I know, Naruto," she said quietly. "I believe that our future will be bright and joyful because we are together." They continued on their way, holding hands, and Naruto knew that now they could overcome any difficulties, because they were together and their love became stronger than all trials. This day became another step towards their mutual happiness and harmony for Naruto and Yuki. They knew that many new and interesting things were waiting for them ahead, and they were ready to go towards the future, supporting each other at every step. Chapter 18, Living Together. After Naruto finally made the decision to stay in this world and dedicate himself to living with Yuki, their relationship began to reach a new level. They no longer felt threatened by the outside world and could focus on building a future together. Now that there were no major dangers ahead of them, they began to think about what their lives would look like going forward. Several weeks passed, and Naruto and Yuki decided that it was time to start discussing important matters regarding their life together. They felt that their relationship had reached the stage where serious decisions needed to be made. These discussions included everything from where they would live to their plans for the future. One evening, as they sat on the living room couch enjoying a quiet evening, Yuki started a conversation that had been in the air for a long time. "Naruto," she began, looking at him warily, "I think we need to talk about our future. We've been through so much together already, and I feel like it's time to start building our home, our world. What do you think about that?" Naruto looked at Yuki, her words filled his heart with warmth and a sense of responsibility. He understood that their relationship had truly moved to a new level, and now they had to decide what their life together would look like. "I think you're right, Yuki," he replied, squeezing her hand. "It's time for us to think about the future. We've been together for so long, and I can't imagine my life without you. I want us to live together, build our home, our family." Yuki smiled, her face glowing with happiness. "I want this too, Naruto," she said, her voice full of tenderness. "I've been dreaming about this ever since we started dating. But I understand that this is a big step, and there are many things to discuss." Naruto nodded, understanding what Yuki meant. "Of course," he said, his voice firm and confident. "Let's start with where we'll live. I know this house is dear to you, but maybe we should think about moving to a bigger place where we can start our own family." Yuki thought for a few moments and then nodded. "I've thought about that too, Naruto," she replied. "This house is truly dear to me, but if we want to build our lives together, perhaps we should find a place that is ours, where we can create something new, something that is ours together." They had long discussed what their dream home would be like, cozy and spacious, with a large garden where they could spend time outdoors, where their children could grow up. These dreams filled their hearts with joy and hope. "I think we should start looking for a suitable place," Naruto said, his eyes shining with anticipation. "We'll find a house that will be our refuge, where we can be happy." Yuki nodded, her eyes shining with happiness. "I agree, Naruto," she said. "Let's start looking. I'm sure we'll find the perfect place for our family." The next few weeks were spent searching for a new home. They considered various options: houses in the city center, cozy cottages on the outskirts, even cabins in the mountains. Each time they found something suitable, they discussed how this place could become their home. Finally, after a long search, they found a house that perfectly matched their dreams. It was a cozy cottage on the outskirts of the city, surrounded by trees and a large garden. There was a lot of light and space inside, and Naruto and Yuki immediately felt that this place would be their home. "I think this is exactly what we were looking for," Naruto said, looking around the house. "There's enough room for the two of us, and we can make it really cozy." Yuki smiled, her face glowing with joy. "I think so too, Naruto," she said. "This house is just perfect. I can imagine us spending time here, growing our family." They decided that this place would become their home and began planning their move. The process was full of joyful moments, choosing furniture, planning the interior, discussing how they would spend evenings by the fireplace or host family dinners in the kitchen. One evening, after they had already settled into their new home, Naruto and Yuki were sitting on the couch, enjoying the peace and quiet. "I'm so happy we found this house, Naruto," Yuki said, looking at him with a smile. "It's so cozy here, and I feel like this is truly our home." Naruto hugged her, his heart filled with warmth. "Me too, Yuki," he replied, his voice full of sincerity. "I never thought I could find such happiness, but now I know I have found it with you." They sat in silence, enjoying each other's closeness. Naruto felt their relationship become even stronger and deeper, and it filled his heart with joy. The next day, they decided to spend the day enjoying their new home. Yuki offered to cook dinner together, and Naruto happily agreed. It was their first meal together in their new home, and they wanted it to be perfect. They chose a recipe together, went grocery shopping, and then started cooking in the kitchen. It was fun and exciting, joking, laughing, and helping each other. At one point, Yuki accidentally dropped some flour on Naruto, and he jokingly responded by sprinkling flour back on her. This sent them into fits of laughter, and they forgot about cooking for a few minutes, enjoying the moment. "You're such a naughty boy, Naruto," Yuki exclaimed, laughing and trying to clear the flour from her face. "Well, you started it," Naruto replied with a smile, trying to look innocent. "But now you're covered in flour." Yuki tried to look serious, but she couldn't help but smile. "So we're having flour for dessert?" she teased him. Naruto pretended to think. "Perhaps, but I think we should finish cooking," he said, bowing slightly. "Otherwise we'll go hungry." Yuki nodded, still laughing, and they continued cooking. The dinner was delicious, and they enjoyed it sitting at the large wooden table in their new dining room. After lunch, they decided to take a walk in the garden that surrounded their house. The place was full of greenery and flowers, and Yuki happily told Naruto about how they could improve it, plant new plants, and create a cozy place to relax. "We can put a swing here," Yuki said, pointing to one of the large trees. "And there, behind the house, we can make a small vegetable garden. I've always dreamed of growing my own vegetables and fruits." Naruto listened to her with a smile, imagining how they would spend time in this garden. "That's a great idea, Yuki," he said. "We can create a real paradise here. I've always wanted to live in a place where I could get away from the hustle and bustle of the city." Yuki nodded, her eyes shining with joy. "Me too, Naruto. I feel like this house has become the beginning of a new chapter in our lives." They continued walking through the garden, enjoying the silence and beauty of nature. At one point, Yuki stopped at a small pond and looked at her reflection in the water. "Naruto," she said quietly, her voice full of thought, "I feel like we've found our place. It's a place where we can be happy, where we can start our family." Naruto walked up to her and hugged her, feeling her closeness bring him peace. "I feel the same way, Yuki," he replied, his voice full of confidence. "I want us to be happy here, together. This house will be our refuge, where we can create our future." They stood by the pond, enjoying the peace and quiet, and Naruto felt like their lives were finally taking shape as he had always dreamed of. They were no longer lonely wanderers in this world, but a family building their future together. As the evening began to envelop the garden in soft light, Yuki suggested that they return to the house and spend the evening together. They returned to their cozy living room, where the fireplace had already begun to burn, creating a warm and cozy atmosphere. "I love this place so much, Naruto," Yuki said, sitting down on the couch next to him. "It's so peaceful here, and I feel so safe." Naruto hugged her, feeling his heart fill with joy. "I'm glad we found this home, Yuki," he said. "Here we can build our life, our family. And I promise I'll always be there for you, to protect and support you." Yuki pressed herself against him, her eyes shining with happiness. "I know, Naruto," she said quietly. "And I will always love you. We can overcome any difficulties because we have each other." They sat on the couch, enjoying the warmth of the fireplace and each other's closeness. Time seemed to stand still, and Naruto knew that they had finally found their place in this world. The next day, they decided to start arranging their garden. It was a fun process. They chose plants together, discussed how to best arrange beds and flower beds, and enthusiastically set to work. Yuki happily shared her ideas, and Naruto helped her bring them to life. "Here we can plant flowers that will bloom in the spring and summer," Yuki suggested, pointing to one of the flower beds. "And there, by the fence, we can plant raspberry bushes. I've always loved fresh berries." Naruto nodded, imagining what this garden would look like when they were finished. "That's a great idea, Yuki," he said, smiling. "We'll create a real paradise here." They worked in the garden all day, enjoying the process and the joy of doing it together. When the work was finished, they sat on the swing under the tree, enjoying the result of their labors. "Our garden is starting to take shape," Yuki said, looking at the flower beds and garden beds they had created. "I'm so glad we did this together." Naruto hugged her, feeling their closeness grow even stronger. "Me too, Yuki," he replied. "This garden will be a place where we can spend time together, relax, and enjoy life." They sat on the swing, enjoying the peace and beauty of their garden, and Naruto knew they were on the right path. Their lives had finally found harmony, and they could focus on building their future. That evening, when they returned to the house, Yuki suggested having a romantic dinner. They cooked a simple but delicious meal together, and then sat around the table, enjoying each other's company. "This day was just wonderful," Yuki said, looking at Naruto with a smile. "I'm so happy that we found this place and can build our life together." Naruto nodded, feeling his heart fill with joy. "Me too, Yuki," he said. "This house, this garden, all of this has become a symbol of our future. And I know that we can overcome any difficulties, because we have each other." Yuki pressed herself against him, her eyes shining with happiness. "I believe in us, Naruto," she said quietly. "And I know that our future will be bright and joyful." They sat at the table, enjoying the evening and each other's closeness. Time seemed to stand still, and Naruto knew that their life had finally taken the shape he had always dreamed of. This night became another step towards their mutual happiness and harmony. They no longer felt that anything threatened their happiness and could focus on building their future. Naruto knew that there was a lot of new and interesting things ahead of them, but now they were ready to move towards the future, supporting each other at every step. Chapter 19: A Fateful Decision. Several months had passed since Naruto and Yuki had started their life together in their new home. Their days were filled with joy and harmony, and the future seemed bright and cloudless. But despite all this, Naruto felt that it was time to take the next step in their relationship. He wanted Yuki to be not just his lover, but his wife. This decision had been brewing within him for some time, and now he was ready to voice it. One evening, as they sat on the veranda, enjoying the warm summer air and the evening sunset, Naruto decided that the time had come for an important conversation. "Yuki," he began, his voice serious but at the same time full of tenderness, "I want to talk to you about something important." Yuki, sensing the seriousness of his tone, turned to him and looked into his eyes. "Of course, Naruto," she replied, her voice soft and attentive. "What do you want to talk about?" Naruto took her hands, feeling the warmth of her touch, and took a deep breath, collecting his thoughts. "Yuki, we've been through so much together," he began, looking into her eyes. "We found each other, built our lives, our home. And now I realize that you are what I've always been looking for. You've become everything to me. I don't want to wait any longer, because I know I want to spend my whole life with you." Yuki listened to him attentively, her heart starting to beat faster in anticipation of what he was going to say. "Yuki," Naruto continued, his voice shaking with emotion, "I want you to be my wife. I want us to get married and spend our whole lives together." These words shocked Yuki, and she froze for a moment, trying to comprehend what she had heard. Her eyes sparkled with emotion, and she felt her heart fill with joy and happiness. "Naruto," she said quietly, her voice shaking with excitement. "Do you really want me to be your wife?" Naruto nodded, his eyes full of love and confidence. "Yes, Yuki," he said firmly. "I can't imagine my life without you. I want us to be together forever, for you to become a part of my life, my family." Yuki couldn't hold back the tears of joy as they rolled down her cheeks. She hugged Naruto tightly, feeling her heart overflowing with happiness. "Yes, Naruto," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. "I agree. I want to be your wife. I want to spend my whole life with you." Naruto hugged her back, feeling his heart fill with warmth and joy. He knew he had made the right choice and now they could build their future together. They sat on the veranda, embracing, enjoying the moment that marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. They were no longer just lovers, they were engaged, and a wedding was ahead of them, symbolizing the beginning of their life together as husband and wife. The next day they started discussing how their wedding would go. Yuki, like any girl, had dreamed since childhood of the day when she would put on a wedding dress and say, yes, to her chosen one. Now this dream had become a reality, and she could not hide her excitement. Naruto, she said as they sat at the table discussing the details, I've always dreamed of a beautiful wedding, but I want this day to be about more than just dresses and flowers. I want it to be a day we'll remember for the rest of our lives, a day that symbolizes our love and our bond. Naruto nodded, understanding how important it was for her to make this day special. I agree, Yuki, he said with a smile. Let's make our wedding a reflection of our love, our history. It should be a day we remember with joy and warmth. They began discussing all aspects of the wedding, from the location to the guest list. Yuki wanted the ceremony to be cozy and intimate, with close friends and family, and Naruto supported her in this. How about having the wedding in our garden? Yuki suggested, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. This place has become a symbol of our home, our future. I think it will be perfect. Naruto smiled as he imagined their garden being decorated with flowers and lights, creating a magical atmosphere. That's a wonderful idea, Yuki, he said, feeling his heart fill with joy. Our garden is a symbol of our beginnings. I can't think of a better place for our wedding. They continued to discuss the details and soon they had a clear idea of what their wedding would be like. Yuki wanted to invite a few close friends to help her with the preparations, and Naruto decided to ask his friends for help to make sure everything went perfectly. In the following weeks, they enthusiastically prepared for the big day. Yuki was busy choosing a wedding dress, and every visit to the bridal salon was a small holiday for her. She tried on different dresses, and each time her heart skipped a beat with excitement when she imagined how she would look on her wedding day. Naruto, in turn, began preparing the garden. He wanted everything to be perfect, so that they would remember this day for the rest of their lives. He decorated the trees with lights, set up an arch for the ceremony, and made sure that every corner of the garden was filled with flowers and greenery. One evening, when all the preparations were almost complete, Yuki decided to show Naruto her wedding dress. It was a special moment that she had been preparing for a long time. Naruto, she said, her voice full of excitement, I want you to see my dress. I know it's not traditional to show the dress before the wedding. But I want this moment to be special for both of us. Naruto nodded with a smile, his heart beating faster in anticipation. Of course, Yuki, he replied, his voice full of tenderness. I want to see you in a dress. I'm sure you'll be the most beautiful bride. Yuki disappeared for a few minutes, and when she returned, Naruto froze in surprise. She was wearing a snow-white dress that perfectly emphasized her figure, and she looked like a princess from a fairy tale. Her eyes were shining with excitement and happiness. Naruto, she said quietly, her voice shaking with emotion, how do you like it? Naruto couldn't take his eyes off her. He didn't just see his lover in front of him, he saw his future wife, the woman he wanted to spend his entire life with. You're absolutely gorgeous, Yuki, he said, his voice full of admiration. I can't believe how lucky I am. Yuki came closer to him, her eyes shining with happiness. I'm so glad you said that, she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. I wanted this moment to be special, and I'm glad you're here. Naruto hugged her, feeling their hearts beat in unison. This will be the happiest day of my life, Yuki, he said, his voice full of sincerity. I can't wait for us to become husband and wife. They stood in each other's arms, enjoying the moment that became a symbol of their future. Naruto knew that he had made the right choice, and now they would be able to build their future together. The next day, the final preparations for the wedding began. All the friends and relatives they had invited helped with the organization. The atmosphere was full of joy and excitement, and everyone was looking forward to the big day. When the wedding day arrived, everything was ready. The garden was decorated with flowers and lights, creating a magical atmosphere. The guests began to arrive, and Naruto and Yuki felt their hearts beat faster in anticipation. Naruto was wearing a classic black suit that showed off his figure perfectly. His friends were helping him get ready and he could feel the excitement building up inside him. "Naruto," one of his friends said, smiling, "you look like a real groom today." "I'm happy for you, buddy." Naruto smiled, feeling his heart fill with joy. "Thank you," he replied. "I can't wait to see Yuki." Meanwhile, Yuki was getting ready in another room, surrounded by her friends. Her heart was beating fast with excitement and she couldn't wait to go out to Naruto. "Yuki, you're absolutely glowing today," one of her friends said, helping her with the finishing touches. "I've never seen you so happy." Yuki smiled, her eyes sparkling with joy. "I'm really happy," she replied. "This is the most important day of my life, and I'm so glad that everything went the way we dreamed." When everything was ready, Yuki left the room and headed to the arch where Naruto was already waiting for her. The guests froze in admiration when they saw her in the dress, and Naruto felt his heart skip a beat when he saw his bride. Yuki walked up to Naruto, her eyes shining with happiness, and he took her hands, feeling the warmth of her touch. "You are simply magnificent, Yuki," he said quietly, looking into her eyes. Yuki smiled, her face full of love and joy. "Thank you, Naruto," she replied, her voice shaking with emotion. "You look incredible too. I'm so happy this day has finally come." The ceremony began, and every moment was filled with joy and excitement. Naruto and Yuki stood in front of the arch, surrounded by their loved ones, their hearts beating in unison. When the moment came to exchange vows, Naruto took Yuki's hands and looked into her eyes. "Yuki," he began, his voice full of sincerity, "I promise to love and protect you for the rest of my days. You are my love, my home, my family. I vow to be with you through thick and thin, to support you and always be there for you, no matter what." Yuki couldn't hold back her tears, her eyes sparkled with happiness. "Naruto," she replied, her voice shaking with emotion, "I promise to love you and be your support in everything. You are my life, my joy, my strength. I swear to be with you always, no matter what the difficulties. And to support you in everything that happens." As they exchanged rings and the moment of kissing came, Naruto and Yuki felt their hearts overflowing with joy and love. They were ready to start a new chapter in their lives, and this day marked the beginning of their journey together as husband and wife. After the ceremony, the reception began, and all the guests congratulated the newlyweds. The atmosphere was full of joy and fun, and Naruto and Yuki could not hide their happiness. "It was the happiest day of my life," Yuki said as they sat at the table enjoying the moment. Naruto hugged her, his heart filled with warmth. "Me too, Yuki," he replied. "I'm so glad we're husband and wife now. I can't wait to start our future together." They spent the evening surrounded by friends and family, enjoying every moment. This day became a symbol of their love and their future, and Naruto knew that they could overcome any difficulties because they had each other. As the evening ended and the guests began to leave, Naruto and Yuki remained in their new home, enjoying the silence and each other's closeness. The day had been full of joy and emotion, and they felt that their lives now had a new meaning. "Naruto," Yuki said quietly as they sat on the veranda, hugging each other, "I'm so happy that you became my husband. I know that our future will be bright and joyful." Naruto hugged her tighter, feeling his heart fill with warmth. "Me too, Yuki," he replied. "We can overcome any difficulties because we have each other. I can't wait for our life together to begin." They sat on the veranda, enjoying the silence and each other's closeness, and Naruto knew that this day was the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. They were now husband and wife, and their future was full of hope and joy. The morning of the wedding. The morning of the wedding day began unusually early for Naruto and Yuki. The sun was just beginning to rise above the horizon, painting the sky in soft pink and gold hues. The day promised to be clear and warm, which only added to the excitement that was already in the air. Naruto was the first to wake up. It took him a few moments to realize that today was the day his life would change forever. His heart began to beat faster with excitement, and he smiled softly as he looked at Yuki sleeping next to him. She looked so peaceful and beautiful that he couldn't help but feel a surge of affection. Not wanting to wake her, Naruto carefully got out of bed and walked towards the window. Looking at the sunrise, he felt a sense of gratitude wash over him. He knew that there were many joyful moments ahead of them, and he was determined to make this day unforgettable. Yuki woke up a little later and saw Naruto at the window. Her heart filled with warmth as she realized that today they would become husband and wife. It was something she had dreamed of since they began building their life together. "Good morning, Naruto," she said quietly, her voice full of tenderness and love. Naruto turned around and smiled at her, walking closer. "Good morning, Yuki," he replied, sitting on the edge of the bed and taking her hand. "Are you ready for today?" Yuki nodded, her eyes shining with joy. "I've been waiting for this day for so long, Naruto," she said, her voice shaking with excitement. "I can't believe it's finally here." They spent a few minutes in silence, enjoying each other's company and realizing that this day would be the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. After that, the preparations began. Naruto went to his friends who helped him with the costume and prepared for the ceremony with him. The atmosphere was full of joy and excitement. His friends made fun of him, trying to ease the tension, and Naruto couldn't help but smile, feeling their support. "You look like a real groom, Naruto," one of his friends said, helping him tie his tie. "Today is your day, and I'm sure everything will go perfectly." Naruto nodded, his heart filling with confidence. "Thanks, guys," he replied, his voice full of sincerity. "I can't wait to see Yuki in a wedding dress." Meanwhile, Yuki was in her room, surrounded by her friends. They helped her with her hair and makeup, and supported her, trying to make this moment special. Yuki couldn't hide her excitement, but her friends did everything to make her feel confident. "You look absolutely stunning, Yuki," one of her friends said, looking at her with admiration. "Naruto is going to be completely floored when he sees you." Yuki smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. "Thank you," she replied quietly, feeling her heart fill with joy. "I'm so happy that this day has finally come." When everything was ready, Naruto and Yuki headed to the place of the ceremony, which was to take place in their garden. The place was decorated with flowers, lights, and it seemed like a real fairy tale. All the guests had already gathered, and the atmosphere was filled with anticipation and joy. Naruto stood at the archway, surrounded by his friends and family. His heart was beating faster than ever, and he felt excitement building inside him. He knew that this moment would change his life forever, and he was ready to take charge of their future together. The sounds of soft music began to spread throughout the garden, and all the guests turned their attention to the entrance, waiting for Yuki to appear. Naruto held his breath, trying to remain calm, but inside he was seething with emotion. When Yuki appeared, accompanied by her father, Naruto momentarily caught his breath. She looked incredible, her dress was perfectly tailored, emphasizing her figure, and her eyes were shining with happiness. In that moment, he realized that she was the one he had always been looking for, and he was willing to do anything to keep her happy. Yuki walked towards Naruto, her heart beating in time with his, and she felt like everything around her disappeared, leaving only the two of them. She couldn't help but smile when she saw Naruto looking at her with love and admiration. As Yuki approached the arch and stood next to Naruto, the ceremony began. Yuki's father, holding back tears, handed her hand to Naruto, and they both felt this moment fill their hearts with joy and responsibility. The priest who performed the ceremony began with warm words about love and the meaning of marriage. His voice was calm and confident, and every word he spoke penetrated Naruto and Yuki's hearts, making them even more aware of the importance of this moment. Marriage is a union of two souls, the priest began, his voice soft and heartfelt. It is not just a ceremony, but a promise to love, protect, and support each other in all circumstances of life. Today, Naruto and Yuki, you make this promise to each other, and I am sure that your love will grow and strengthen with each passing day. Naruto and Yuki stood holding each other's hands, feeling their hearts beat in unison. They knew that this moment would be the beginning of their new life, full of joy, challenges, and love. When the moment came to exchange vows, Naruto took Yuki's hands and looked into her eyes. He felt his heart fill with emotion and knew that these words would be the most important in his life. Yuki, he began, his voice shaking with emotion, from the moment I met you, my life has changed. You have become my light, my support, my home. I promise to love you, protect you, and be by your side through thick and thin. I vow to support you no matter what happens, and to build our future together. Yuki couldn't hold back her tears, her eyes were shining with happiness and emotion. She knew that these words came from Naruto's heart, and they were more precious to her than anything else in the world. Naruto, she replied, her voice shaking with emotion, you have become everything I ever dreamed of. You are my love, my strength, my joy. I swear to be with you always, to support you in everything, and to share with you joy and sorrow. I promise to love you and build our future together, no matter what happens. As they exchanged rings, Naruto and Yuki felt their hearts overflow with joy and love. They knew that they were now one, and were ready to begin their new life together. The priest, smiling, blessed their union and declared them husband and wife. You may kiss the bride, he said. And these words brought smiles to all the guests. Naruto kissed Yuki tenderly, and that moment became a symbol of their love and their new beginning. All the guests applauded, expressing their joy and support. The ceremony ended and Naruto and Yuki walked out hand in hand to the sounds of applause and congratulations. It was a moment they would remember for the rest of their lives. After the ceremony, the festive reception began. The garden was decorated with glowing garlands and flowers, creating an atmosphere of magic and coziness. The guests gathered at a large table where delicious food and drinks prepared especially for this important event awaited them. Naruto and Yuki took their seats at the head of the table, their faces beaming with happiness. There was an atmosphere of joy and fun all around, and every guest tried to express their support and love for the newlyweds. When the toasts began, Naruto's best friend was the first to speak. He stood up with a glass in his hand and looked at Naruto and Yuki with a smile. Today we are gathered here to celebrate love, he began, his voice full of sincerity and warmth. I have known Naruto for many years, and I can say that I have never seen him as happy as he is now. Yuki, you have brought light and joy into his life, and I am sure that your love will grow with each passing day. Let us drink to Naruto and Yuki, to their love and happiness. The guests raised their glasses and unanimously supported the toast, applause and cheers were heard. Naruto and Yuki exchanged a look full of gratitude and love, and picked up their glasses to sip from them. Yuki's father spoke next. He stood up and looked at his daughter with pride and love. Yuki, my dear daughter, he began, his voice full of emotion, today you became a wife. It is a moment every parent dreams of, and I am so happy to see you so happy. Naruto, I am sure that you will be a good husband to my daughter, and I wish you both many years of happiness and love. May your lives be filled with joy and light. There was another round of applause, and Naruto and Yuki thanked Yuki's father for his kind words. The atmosphere at the reception became more and more joyful and relaxed, and the guests continued to share their wishes and congratulations. After the toasts, dinner began, and Naruto and Yuki were able to relax and enjoy delicious food and conversation with friends and family. It was a moment when they were able to realize the significance of what had happened and feel truly happy. When the dinner was over, the musical program began. The first dance, of course, was the dance of the newlyweds. Naruto and Yuki came to the center of the floor, and all the guests surrounded them, creating a semicircle. The music started and Naruto gently hugged Yuki around the waist. Their eyes met and the world seemed to disappear around them, leaving only the two of them. This dance became a symbol of their love, their connection, their future together. They moved to the beat of the music, and every step, every movement was full of love and tenderness. Naruto felt his heart overflowing with joy, and he knew that this was a moment he would remember for the rest of his life. "You know, Yuki," he said quietly, looking into her eyes, "I couldn't have dreamed of a better day. You've become my wife, and now I'm sure that we can overcome anything that comes our way." Yuki smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. "Me too, Naruto," she replied, her voice full of sincerity. "This has been the happiest day for me. I'm so glad that we are now husband and wife. I know that our future will be bright and joyful." The dance continued and the guests watched them with admiration and joy. It was the moment when everyone realized that Naruto and Yuki's love was something special, something that deserved respect and support. After their first dance, other couples joined them and the dancing continued until late into the evening. The atmosphere was full of fun and joy, and Naruto and Yuki enjoyed every moment of this important day. As the evening began to come to an end, Naruto and Yuki decided to thank all the guests for their support and presence at their wedding. "Friends," Naruto began, standing up with a glass in his hand, "I want to thank you so much for being with us today. This day has been special for us, and we are so glad you got to share it with us. Thank you for your love, support, and kind words. We will never forget this day." Yuki also stood up and added, "I join Naruto's words. Thank you for being here, for supporting us at this important stage of our lives. We are so happy to have such friends and family. We are grateful to you for everything." The guests responded to these words with applause and warm wishes, and Naruto and Yuki felt their hearts fill with gratitude and love. As the evening came to an end, the guests began to leave, and Naruto and Yuki were left alone in their new home. It was a moment when they could finally relax and realize that they were now husband and wife, and that a new life together awaited them. They sat in the living room, enjoying the peace and quiet, and Naruto couldn't help but notice how peaceful and happy Yuki looked. "This day was absolutely wonderful," he said, looking at Yuki with a smile. "I'm so glad everything went the way we dreamed." Yuki smiled back, her eyes shining with happiness. "Me too, Naruto," she replied. "This has been the happiest day of my life. I can't believe we're husband and wife now. I'm so happy." Yuki said quietly. "Naruto, I'm so happy that you're my husband now. I can't wait for us to start our new life together." Naruto smiled, feeling his heart fill with warmth. "Me too, Yuki," he replied. "I promise I'll love you every day of our lives. You're my love, my home, my family. And I'll do everything to make you happy." They fell asleep in each other's arms, knowing that this day was the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. The next morning started with a quiet, peaceful awakening for Naruto and Yuki. The sun was shining softly into their bedroom, and they woke up feeling truly happy. It was their first morning as husband and wife, and they knew that they had a new, exciting life ahead of them. Naruto opened his eyes first and looked at Yuki sleeping next to him. Her face looked so peaceful and calm, and his heart filled with tenderness. He knew that they would become even closer now, and he was determined to do everything to make their life happy. Yuki woke up a few minutes later and smiled at Naruto, her eyes sparkling with joy. "Good morning, my husband," she said quietly, her voice full of love. Naruto smiled back, his heart filling with happiness. "Good morning, my wife," he replied, hugging her. "How are you feeling?" Yuki snuggled closer to him, enjoying the warmth of his embrace. "I feel like the happiest woman in the world," she said, her voice full of sincerity. I'm so glad we're now husband and wife. I can't wait to start our life together. They spent the morning in peace and quiet, enjoying each other's company and discussing their plans for the future. It was the beginning of a new life, full of joy and love. After breakfast, Naruto and Yuki decided to take a walk in their garden, which became a symbol of their new home and their new beginning. They walked holding hands, discussing how they would arrange their lives, what goals and dreams they wanted to achieve. I've been thinking about how we need to continue working on our garden, Yuki said, looking at the flowers they had planted together. This place has become special to us, and I want it to continue to bring us joy. Naruto nodded, his heart filling with joy at her words. I agree, Yuki, he replied. We can create a real paradise here. I want this house and this garden to be a place where we will be happy, where our family will grow. Yuki smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. I want that too, Naruto, she said. I know our future will be bright and joyful because we have each other. They continued walking through the garden, enjoying the peace and quiet. It was a moment when they could completely relax and feel truly happy. When they returned to the house, Naruto suggested that they have a small picnic in the garden. They prepared some simple food and went outside, where they spread out a blanket and sat on the grass. This is just wonderful, Yuki said, enjoying the food and Naruto's company. I'm so glad we get to enjoy moments like this together. Naruto smiled back, his heart filling with joy. Me too, Yuki, he said. I want our life to be full of moments like this, so we can enjoy every day together. They spent several hours at the picnic, discussing their dreams and plans for the future. It was a moment when they could fully focus on their love and their connection, and they knew that there were many joyful moments ahead. As evening began to fall on their home, Naruto and Yuki returned to the living room and settled down on the couch, enjoying the silence and each other's closeness. Naruto, Yuki said softly, snuggling close to him, I'm so happy that we're now husband and wife. I can't wait to start our new life together. Naruto hugged her tighter, feeling his heart fill with warmth. Me too, Yuki, he replied. I promise I'll love you every day of our lives. We can overcome any difficulties because we have each other. They spent the evening in each other's arms, discussing their dreams and plans for the future. It was a moment when they could fully focus on their love and their connection, and they knew that there were many joyful moments ahead. This day marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. They were now husband and wife, and their future was full of hope and joy. Naruto and Yuki knew that they could overcome all difficulties because they had each other, and they were ready to move forward, building their happy future together. Conclusion. So, Naruto and Yuki finally got what they dreamed of, a life together, full of love, understanding, and happiness. Their path was not easy, but they overcame all the difficulties and now could enjoy the fact that they have each other. This day became a symbol of their new life, their new beginning. Now they were not just a couple, they became a family, and their future was full of hope and joy. Naruto and Yuki knew that there was a lot of new and interesting things ahead of them, but they were ready to face all the challenges because they had love, which became the basis of their lives. This ending was the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, and they were determined to make it the happiest one.